Are we ready to talk about?
Doug.
I binge all the time. I eat a lot and then I go throw up.
Sure.
It's sad.
Doug really wants to talk about binge TV. So what do you think, Doug? What are your thoughts on binging versus watching weekly television shows? What do you prefer?
I don't know that I can pick one over the other. I think they both have their pros and cons. I think the beauty of seeing something all at once is with serialized television. You could just binge it all. You know what's happening from episode to episode without like forgetting what happened to it, or like some small detail that's revealed in an episode that carries forward towards the next episode. I think that's really nice about binging. But I think a week-to-week episode, you get like with the water cooler TV show, if those still exist after Game of Thrones, you get the ability to sit around and talk about it every week rather than having to worry about where your friends are or if everyone's caught up. You can kind of talk about it, analyze the episode rather than just going like play next episode, or you don't even have to do that because Netflix is going to play it for you. So I think there's pros to both. I don't know that I necessarily prefer one over the other.
Yeah, you bring up a good point about the whole water cooler talk. That's what I like a lot about the weekly programming, whether it's like a 6, 8, 10, 13 episode season. I like being able to be part of that conversation, read theories and things like that, versus show like on Netflix, like a Stranger Things or something like that, where while at the time it's a blast to just be able to go through the 8 episodes, but you feels like the conversation is just over after a week, and then nobody really talks about the show again until there's like news for the upcoming season.
Oh man, everyone just kept talking about Stranger Things though, even though it sucked. I feel like that went on way too long.
Well, let's agree to disagree on Stranger Things sucking.
I guess you're right a little bit with the first season, JP, because that was one that like people kind of picked up at different times after it originally aired. But like something like the second or third season, everyone's going to just digest that so quickly. And I kind of feel like you're in a race to watch the show before you have to worry about spoilers getting on social media or everything like that, or so you can have a full conversation with your friends versus being the one left out of the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a negative, I think.
I don't mind being left out of the chat, to be perfectly honest. I also don't really give a shit about people's... for the most part, for TV shows, I don't really give a shit about people's theories about most of the things. I like just being able to sit down and watch it in a block and digest it at my own pace and enjoy it myself. Because really, at the end of the day, I just sort of care what I think about it, and then my wife as well, because we live together, so I have to care about what she thinks about it. If she even finishes the show that we're watching. But I don't know. I feel like even watching Perry Mason and watching Lovecraft Country now, I don't like the pressure of having to keep up watching them. I want to just be able to sit down, and if I want to chunk off 3 episodes, I'm going to chunk off 3 episodes and enjoy it and get back to it at some point. But I just don't like the pressure of having to tune in every week to watch it. I also don't want to wait until the end, though, to watch them all
but
at once.
And you probably, it doesn't sound like you feel it, but I kind of feel like how Murph feels, where like a new show drops and you kind of feel like you have to watch, instead of just that one episode per week, you have to watch all the episodes now in order to be able to have the conversation, because a lot of people have already watched the entire thing.
I don't know. For me, I tend to avoid the conversations if it's a show that I haven't seen. I don't know. I've been able to do that personally.
I don't know, just from my perspective, I've never felt pressured to finish a show before everyone else did. If someone's talking about it and I haven't watched it yet, just walk away or go do something else.
I would say it's not all pressure. Part of it is just like the fact that there's 8 episodes of something I want to watch. If it's right there, I'm probably going to do it quickly. If it's a show like, I don't know, the Netflix Marvel shows were ones where they would drop, but I would get to it whenever I got to it. Like whether it might be a year after the season first debuted. It just wasn't something that I needed to watch right away. But something like The Boys, if I'm kind of annoyed that all of season 2 isn't dropping at once, just because that's what I'm used to from the first season. I didn't watch it all at once when it originally aired. That's how I was first exposed to it. So I want to just like get through that show, and it's so addicting. The way shows are structured when they're weekly versus streaming just seem very different. And it seems like it's more like one long story on a streaming show versus something like Better Call Saul, which has very clear stories per episode. And I don't know if it necessarily functions as well as a show that you binge versus one where you like really get a chance to think about what you just saw in each episode, like after the fact, and get excited for the next one just because the television's so damn good.
Yeah, I think that definitely comes into play when they're putting together, the creative team putting together a show. I think knowing that a show is going to be, all the episodes are going to be out, all at once, their arcs and the way the show is put together is going to be a little bit different structurally than a show that's, staggered every week for, 10 weeks or whatever.
What kind of is weird about all that, though, is probably the show that I binged, like couldn't control myself binge, was Breaking Bad, which was not designed to be a binge show.
No, I don't know.
But like I couldn't help myself.
But it worked so well as a binge, and that's why it was like one of the first shows that like showed up on Netflix after the fact and just got huge. Just because, despite the fact that it was a weekly show, it worked so well.
Well, every episode was like cliffhanger, jaw-dropping cliffhanger, and it was just like, I need to know what's happening next episode. Like, let's go.
Yeah, especially with the last season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't start watching that show until season 3, maybe. It was much later into the show.
When I binged the first 3 seasons.
Yeah. And then
that was with Netflix discs. That wasn't even the time of
yeah. But for me personally, I'm definitely with JP. Like I like binging a show, but I think my reasoning and thought process is a little different because it's very, as you guys know, it's very difficult for me to like commit and finish a show at once, especially one that is, I have to commit every week at a certain time for, however many weeks. So binging, I can be like, all right, I sit down, I'm focusing on this show and I'm going to like bang it out and, kind of get the full picture. Cause a lot of times I'll end up forgetting exactly what happened, from the previous week. I'll have to watch the episode again, before the end, before the next episode. But I think that is more to do with because I have like a bunch of things that, I got video games and like just all these different things that are on my plate during the week. So it's not just television shows or movies or whatnot. So I think that's why I like it. I like to binge a little bit more.
Yeah, I do feel like the more you consume, the more likely you are to forget things if you're watching something on a week-to-week basis. But that's really interesting you say that because I was going to ask if any of you guys have the same problem that I have, where when I binge something, I forget it quicker. Like by the time the next season airs, I forget so much of what happened. Versus a weekly show, by the time the next season airs, I feel like I've still retained more of the stuff. I don't know why that is. I think it might have to do with the fact that I read for certain shows, I read episode recaps after the fact, and you don't really get episode recaps for binge shows just because everyone's consuming it so fast. So you just read it like a season recap. Do you guys have the same situation at all?
I think that
me personally, I kind of forget them both either way. I'll have to go in, and anytime there's a new season, something I'll have to go and read up about it or watch it again. I mean, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is one that I think I've rewatched. I rewatched the first season right before the second season came out. Then I rewatched the first and second season again right before the third season came out. Just because I've forgotten most of the things. You know, you want to remember them going into the next season.
Yeah, I think I'm like JP. I'm kind of pretty forgetful both ways, but I definitely spend more brain power thinking about. Like, I definitely think about the show more when it's week to week, because you have that gap between episodes where you just kind of, especially if it's something that ended on a cliffhanger, like what's going to happen next. I mean, with Better Call Saul, I know Murph, you and I have kind of speculated about what's going to happen in the next episode, and with like a show you binge, you just like lose that, I think.
Yeah, even me and JP will text after certain episodes and talk about like what happened or what we think's gonna happen like by the end of the season. Primarily, we talk about, is Kim gonna die? I feel like that's the common consensus with all of our chats in relation to Better Call Saul.
She gotta die. There's no way she gets out of this alive. That's gonna be a goddamn shame.
It is going to be a heartbreaker.
It'll be an expertly acted death. Guarantee you that.
Yeah, and she won't get nominated for an Emmy.
No, she will not. And we'll burn the motherfucker down.
Burn it down.
All right, that's it for TV. Hey everyone, welcome to Live Breathe Film. You're here for episode 12 with Corey, Doug, JP, and Murph. Thanks as always for joining us. Our main topic for today is The Batman, specifically Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson's The Batman. We're going to talk about our initial thoughts on their new interpretation of the character, our history with Batman and all the various films that have come out thus far, and what the previous iterations ultimately got right and wrong, in our opinion. However, before we get to that, let's run through some news and what we watched this past week. So, the big thing, this is an entirely superhero news week. Primarily, we're going to be talking DC FanDome and recapping that. It was, I would say it exceeded all of our expectations in what they showed, the audiences, what they revealed, how the presentation was, everything like that. But for now, we're going to hold off on Batman until we get to our feature presentation section, and we'll start strictly with going over all the other various films. So we'll be talking Wonder Woman 1984, The Flash, Suicide Squad, Justice League, the Snyder Cut, Black Adam, Aquaman 2, Shazam, and that's it. Like I said, we'll get to Batman later. So let's start off with overall thoughts. What did you guys think in regards to the presentation? Did you guys have any issues with any of the streaming aspects, anything like that? Did you think it was better than you expected?
Yeah, I mean, I was very surprised. I actually thought that the whole presentation, the website, was gonna just tank because so many people were gonna be watching it and so many people were gonna be on there.
That too.
Me too.
And it was perfectly fine. I didn't have any issues. I mean, I basically just stayed in that one panel room, that Hall of Heroes. So maybe that was it. But I just kept it on all day for the most part. Like, I might not necessarily have been watching every single panel, but it was just on in the background, and I paid attention to what I really wanted to pay attention to. And, you know, I thought it was well done. I thought the panels were interesting. The way they presented them was really good. It was exciting. It was, you know, kind of had the vibe of being at like a convention panel. But they kind of took it in a more creative direction because obviously it's filmed and, you know, people were filming out of their houses and stuff. But I really enjoyed it. I hope they continue to do it.
They were definitely smart splitting it up into 2 days. Maybe that did help with the fact that the website didn't crash or anything, because if they had, I think they were supposed to have like 5 or 6 digital rooms or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But the fact is, they only had the one. Like you said, you were in the entire time.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Probably would have been a little crazier if it had so much more going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think the second, Doug, what is the second one? Like late September? I think it's September 21st, maybe, or 19th, something like that.
I didn't even know there was a second one.
Yeah, they kept the focus. They ended up keeping the focus strictly on movies, video games, and a couple TV shows. They're saving the majority of the TV shows, along with like the comic book stuff and things like that, for later in September.
They probably made. They probably made that decision for that exact reason. It was probably sensory overload. They didn't want to throw too much shit at people, because if you think about it, all the stuff that they gave us, I mean, it was a lot. Like, it was definitely a lot of information, a lot of new trailers, a lot of content. So they also had comic stuff, and they had more television stuff for people that are interested in that. It probably would have been too much. So I think that was a good move. On top of bandwidth, I guess, with the website, with so many people.
Yeah, day 2 is Saturday, September 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, this kind of seemed like a nice balance between content and just other stuff that they showed. I mean, they definitely seemed to be all over the internet for that entire Saturday that they were running. It seemed like it was a huge success. Just the amount of attention that they got throughout the day seemed just kind of like they had a grip on social media.
They had a monopoly on the zeitgeist.
Yeah, I mean, that every time they released something, it was like front page news on every internet media site. So it seemed like it was a huge success. I'd be shocked if they don't do this again next year.
Yeah,
I would imagine that they're probably not. They're probably going to focus a lot more on this rather than show up at Comic-Con.
Yeah, think about all the money that they're saving.
Yeah, the overhead is minimal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like we said, they figure out a way to monetize it too next year.
Yep.
Like bank.
Yep.
I mean, you could even just bring in sponsors for it, and you would be
100%.
After how successful it was this year, there's going to be people chomping at the bit to get on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I imagine this year they pulled a ton of email addresses.
And it makes you wonder is like Marvel. I know Marvel's already got the Disney. Was it the
D23?
The D23 that they drop a lot of Marvel stuff, but I mean, I wonder if Marvel even just pivots further and just they also kind of just start doing their own thing. It kind of seems like the way that the gaming consoles went.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than like an E3, they all kind of broke off to their own events.
Yeah.
It seems like that may be where this is heading to, with Marvel having their own show, DC doing the FanDome.
Comic-Con go back to just being comic books again?
I don't know.
It might be. But yeah, I thought it was really well done. The only thing I'd complain about is I think having a streaming video on the website felt very old school. It felt like, I don't know, 2000s, I guess.
Yeah, the presentation was a little bit lacking.
How did you guys all watch it?
Just on my browser, on my PC.
Did you cast it like to your TV or anything, or?
Nah, I was just hanging out. I had it on the second monitor, just watching it while I was playing some games and doing stuff on my computer.
Yeah, I casted it to my TV like throughout the day. I'd turn it off when there wasn't anything I wanted to watch, and then turn it back on, and it was a seamless process. It was the first time I had ever done it on my current TV.
You know what it reminded me of? I don't even know why, but it reminded me of like Saturday morning cartoons when we were kids, where just like throw on Nickelodeon and like all these programs were on, throughout the afternoon of like stuff that we were interested in, and that's kind of how I felt. Like even the presentation was, a lot like that. I mean, it was lackluster at times, but it just felt like something you would see, on Saturday morning on like Nickelodeon.
The one thing that stuck out to me is it felt very casual almost.
Incredibly.
So when the Flash panel popped up, it was just sort of Ezra Miller saying weird, crazy things.
weird Ezra Miller things.
Yeah, and then the director talking about it, and then all of a sudden, here's concept drawings of the Flash, and I wasn't even really expecting it at that point. And then the Suicide Squad, they built up a little bit to it, but then once they started doing it, it felt very informal. It felt extremely organic. It wasn't a Comic-Con-esque, them screaming in your face to get hyped about stuff. It was just, it was pretty lean. There wasn't a whole lot of filler, and they just gave you what they want. Gave you what you wanted. You got trailers and you got behind the scenes looks and stuff, and it was real quick. Really, 20 minutes at post.
Yeah,
I really appreciated that. The shortness of the panels.
I really liked the different hosts that they had for each panel. A lot of them I was very surprised. Like, they were random a lot of times, but I thought that was really cool because it really made each panel kind of have like a different vibe, different feel to it. I thought that was really fun. You kind of didn't really know who was going to be moderating until it started.
All right, well, let's talk about the first panel of the day, Wonder Woman 1984. So we got not the first trailer, but the final official trailer for the film, and the first look at Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. That was definitely the biggest aspect of the panel itself. Kind of looks like cats.
Yeah, it doesn't it doesn't look good.
No.
I thought everything else in the trailer looked awesome, but
yeah, that was very bad.
That didn't look so great.
You shouldn't make.
I don't even think it's like a CGI problem too. I just think it's
corny.
A stupid idea for a character. Especially when they built this really cool universe with the first one. It looked like they were doing the second. Now here's a cat person.
Yeah, I just can't take Kristen Wiig seriously as a villain yet.
Yeah.
Maybe
her character
when the
just
final
seems
film comes out.
Dumb. She wants to be an apex predator, so they make her a weird cat.
It reminds me of like a Spider-Man villain in like the Raimi movies, or like an Iron Man villain.
Yep.
Yep.
Very
like
very
that's
one-dimensional.
the vibe I got from that character. Like, it's gonna have some personal, like, I was a loser and now I'm jealous because you have powers and I had an easy life, and now I get powers and I'm gonna be an asshole. That's what I got from it.
It reminded me exactly like the villain from Iron Man 3. I think it was Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
The extremist dude.
Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce. It's literally the same exact arc. The same exact thing. Minus, we don't know if she has any type of connection to Wonder Woman, but it sure seems that way.
Or Jamie Foxx in Amazing Spider-Man.
Yes.
Or it reminds me of Venom in Spider-Man 3. Because he hates Peter Parker and then becomes bad because they get superpowers.
Incredibly one-dimensional.
Why did you put Jamie Foxx, Spider-Man 3 in my head, or Spider-Man 2?
Sorry.
Spider-Man 2.
You're going to have nightmares now.
Just focus on Paul Giamatti.
Oh, so
Spider-Man 2.
I'm the Rhino. I'm not a big Wonder Woman fan. I mean, as you guys know, like, the first one was good. I thought it was okay. And I think this one looks fun, but I'm more impressed and interested in Maxwell Lord, Pedro Pascal's villainous character, because I guess we're gonna have two villains in this. Kristen Wiig, I was like,
it's a sequel. You gotta up it.
Yeah,
Cool villain. Superhero tradition.
Well, I think it's kind of obvious at this point that he's sort of the driving force that she exists, right?
Yeah,
exists, so.
yeah.
And it looks like he's the reason why Steve Trevor is back as well.
Yeah. And he's
I'm sure there's a catch to all this stuff happening, which is probably They should have just shown us the movie because I'm pretty sure I can play it in my head now at this point.
Yeah.
I think though it was a brilliant decision to bring back Chris Pine. I mean, he looks awesome in this movie.
I think it's gonna be the most entertaining part of the movie is his fish out of water story.
Mm-hmm. Just reversing the fish out of water aspect of the first one.
Yeah, it just seems like it's gonna be the most entertaining thing in the movie.
Probably.
They're pulling our Rush Hour 2 and all those other movies that flip the script.
You know what though? At least one of the characters doesn't suddenly forget who they are and they have to learn through the whole movie again.
Is that Men in Black?
Sequel trick.
Men in Black 2?
He's talking about Kingsman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
AKA Men in Black.
Oh, I thought about Men in Black 2. or 3. Or 3. Which one?
Now that's what we call a callback.
But yeah, I mean, it looks fun. It looks fine. But I wasn't, like, overly, like, hyped for it. I kind of just felt like JP said. Like, I feel like I just saw, like, an abridged version of the movie.
I just feel like with 8 trailers that we got, I can piece the movie together. It just feels like it's been so long.
Yeah.
Because I thought it looks good though. I mean, at least the parts, the Chris Pine Gal Gadot stuff interaction. I mean, that's the part that kind of hooked me in.
Can you say that one again?
JP's face that you saying
Gal Gadot.
No, he said Gadot.
Gadot?
Yeah, Gadot. Gadot. I got it.
I think it's Godot.
It is Godot. Got it.
You gotta get that Themyscira accent to say it.
Yeah.
But yeah, her and Chris Pine are awesome together, and that's the part of the trailer. I mean, they showed a lot of them interacting together, and that looked awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm still excited to see it, and just wish circumstances were a little different.
As for the panel itself, I mean, this one was mostly just fan questions that were fairly innocent and could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
But it was cool that Linda Carter showed up, the original Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
It's kind of neat seeing her interact with the cast. That everyone looked like thrilled about her being there, and she seemed absolutely ecstatic about being there herself.
It was interesting though, like the adoration that Kristen Wiig and Linda Carter seemed to have for each other. Like they were both kind of like fangirling over each other, which I thought was pretty funny and kind of awesome.
All right, let's move on to The Flash, though. This one, the film itself isn't coming out until 2022, so it was fairly short. I think it was only about 10 minutes. It was just random, like JP mentioned, just started with Ezra Miller just randomly talking, and I think it was the director, the producer's writer, and they would just say random Flash facts. It's not the most exciting thing when news broke the day prior that Ben Affleck will be returning for The Flash as Batman, and we got further confirmation that Michael Keaton will be in the film as well as the Batman, in a different universe. So they are officially going the multiverse route, which is very exciting. I guess that was about as close as we got to an announcement during this panel. But how fucking hyped are you guys for... And just how crazy is it, the fact that we are getting the 1989 Batman and the 2016 Batman in the same film?
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
either of them ever would have played the role again.
I think it's nice to see that Warner Brothers is, finally just doing something kind of outside the box. I mean, adapting Flashpoint is a great idea, and it's going to get, nostalgia back with the fans, and people are going to get hyped. I mean, you see Michael Keaton playing Batman again, and for people that liked Ben Affleck, I know I'm one of them. It's going to be really cool, and I'm sure there will be other cameos that they're going to throw in there too, because why the hell not at this point? So
Michelle Pfeiffer would be cool.
Everything's on the table at this point.
It's kind of funny that the Flash is just turning into a Batman movie.
It's
That's what people are going to be absolutely the most excited for.
it's smart because I feel like I don't know. I mean, Ezra Miller's a good actor. I just don't really see him as Barry Allen. So I just don't think he can hold an entire film like that himself. So, personally. But it does look amazing. I think it's a great idea. And I'm sure it's a way for them to kind of wipe the slate clean with whatever they're going to do going forward.
What's cool, and I was pointing it out to Murph, is there was art that was almost like blink if you miss it, but it had the new Flash suit, but then it also had, if you like look closely in the background, Keaton's '89 Batman, and so that solidified for me like, oh shit, Keaton's gonna be like a pretty big part of this movie if like that's the art they're going with is Keaton and Flash, and so. I think JP, you might have called it. 89 Batman's got to be filling that void in the Flashpoint story that Thomas Wayne originally had.
Probably
he's going to play like a pretty decent size. He's going to have a pretty decent sized role in this movie, and we'll likely see 89 Batman and Flash fighting side by side.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting they didn't age up the '89 Batman. It just looks like 1989 Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
yeah. So that's one thing I've been thinking away at for the last 2 days or so is are they going to redesign that costume or are they going to put them all full rubber neck and everything? I imagine they're going to update it a little bit. It just to me, I love the idea that it's you got Batman, you got 89 Batman. And maybe they get to discuss with each other about their want and killing the thugs because they're two of the most murderous Batmen to ever grace the screen. But thinking about it more and more, it's going to be a little hard to sell a Michael Keaton that fights still to me. I mean, I watched the other guys today, and Michael Keaton doesn't really look like a guy that's done in a bat suit and beating the shit out of people.
I think
the other guy's on TV or something. My brother was watching that too.
It was on Netflix. Netflix just automatically played it for me.
I see you guys have the exact same minds when it comes to the other guys.
I think he could do it, and if Harrison Ford can play Indiana Jones again at like what 70s,
yeah, but I mean Harrison Ford and Michael Keaton are two completely different types of people. Harrison Ford is grumpy and kind of still stays in shape. He's a bigger guy. Keaton's gotten smaller. I mean, he was good in Spider-Man.
He'll be about 70 years old when the film comes out.
Yeah. I mean, CGI is a hell of a drug, but I'm curious to see how it's going to work. I'm excited nonetheless, but just to me, it's a little less believable that there's a 70-year-old man wearing a rubber suit beating the shit out of thugs out there. But, I'm still excited to see it again.
I'm happy that Ben Affleck is getting a chance to have like a send-off.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who was not a Batman vs Superman fan. I can't judge him enough on Suicide Squad because I was mostly not paying attention when we watched it at our friend's house. But I like and respect Ben Affleck as an actor. So you vouch for him that he's great. I would love to give Batman vs Superman another shot, but I fucking hated it, so I'm not going to. But I did like him a lot in the one scene where he's in the where it basically feels like Arkham City. He's going to town in the warehouse or whatever it is. But I'll watch the Snyder Cut when that comes out. We'll talk about that shortly. And I'm happy he is getting a send-off. He didn't deserve to go out the way that he was going out.
No,
you got the short end of the stick, definitely.
All right, let's move on, though, to the Suicide Squad. This was a pretty substantial panel. 30 minutes, had the whole cast, the exception of Taika. He was like one of the only people not there. I'm wondering if he's the villain. They're saving that announcement. But it was cool. They had a video montage of all the different actors in their costumes and who exactly they're playing on the Suicide Squad. They closed it with a studio, like a filming and production type trailer. So it was a lot of just behind the scenes stuff of them shooting and the different actors talking about the movie and stuff like that. And other than that, they had like a fun little game where they split up the team into two groups. Pete Davidson got picked last, which I thought was pretty funny. The captains were Viola Davis and Joel Kinnaman. And then we were talking about our favorite part was probably just Michael Rooker getting his balls busted the entire time by James Gunn and everyone.
Yeah, everyone's shitting on Rooker. I guess that's they're sort of behind the scenes joke, their little inside joke. But that was absolutely hilarious.
He has such a really good relationship with James Gunn.
Yeah.
Imagine that his ball busting led to the entire team starting to bust his balls throughout production.
For sure.
Well, you could tell, like, and this is one thing that I got really excited about was the chemistry between all the cast members that were there was awesome. Like, you could tell that, you know, they liked working with each other, they liked talking to each other, and it bodes well for the final product. It seems like it's going to be, you know, a really fun film.
And I was worried it was going to be like a paycheck job for James Gunn.
Yeah.
And like a fuck you to Marvel.
Yeah, not at all.
And Disney.
Hearts in this.
But he does seem like legitimately like in love with these characters in this comic book series. And he said it's going to be the biggest film he's ever done.
Mm-hmm.
I think he said there were more effect shots in this than in every MCU movie combined.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like impossible.
He was talking about explosions too because Jake from State Farm asked him about it.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Jake from
product
State
placement.
Farm was there throughout the day.
Yeah,
That
that seamless integration.
Ugh.
That was them testing out sponsors.
Yeah, no, don't ever do that again. If you listen to this, DC, don't ever do that. That was horrible.
Yeah, I really hope that this movie like just kills. Because it'll continue to make Disney look incredibly stupid for the decision that they made, you know, a few years ago.
I
think they already must.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They righted their wrong, ultimately.
Which is crazy because you don't see that happening too often these days. But I was happy that they were able to admit as a company that they had made a mistake
Mm-hmm.
and
Definitely.
go back.
I like what I really liked about the Suicide Squad 2, or I don't think it's called 2, right? It's the Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like the like deep cuts he seems to be doing with like the superheroes they were going with, or not superheroes, I guess villains. So you have like Polka Dot Man,
Yeah.
this Ratcatcher 2, Peacemaker with John Cena, which was described as just like a douchey Captain America,
Mm-hmm.
which sounds like a perfect John Cena role.
Yep. Perfect.
It just
I
like
think-
sounded fun.
I think I saw a quote that described Peacemaker as something he says in the comics saying, "I'm a man that loves peace so much that I'm willing to fight constantly for it." Sounds absolutely hilarious as a character, and especially John Cena playing it, because I'm glad they made his costume so bright and shiny because you can't see him, so you'll be able to at least see what he's wearing. Hopefully, what a weird! I thought it was a very weird panel. There was a lot going on, but in terms of content that we got, we didn't get a whole lot. We got, the introduction to the characters. Then we got some weird in-production trailer for a movie that's been finished shooting since February. And then we get a full trailer for Batman, which is 25% done. It's a little odd.
Yeah, Batman's just their crown jewel. And I imagine we're going to get the Batman trailer with Tenet, along with Wonder Woman 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then my expectations is that we would get the Suicide Squad trailer with Wonder Woman in October.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's one of the movies I'm most intrigued about what's going on. Like you said, the villain, there's no villain currently, and what the story is. I was diving into it a little bit more, just trying to figure out who these characters were. one interesting thing I saw was Ratcatcher 2, and I find that they made that a point of focus that it was Ratcatcher 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like in James Gunn's universe, there has already been an extended mythos for Ratcatcher, which I didn't even know existed as a villain until they announced Ratcatcher in the new movie. But I think that's pretty hilarious that there's just... And he even said a lot of these characters have never even really been in the Suicide Squad. He was just picking DC villains that he thought were fun. And I think that's pretty awesome. I don't think that'll piss off too many comic book fans at the end of the day. But it's pretty funny how you can just... We're living in a world now where there's a mythos established for 2 rat catchers. Yeah, I honestly never thought I would see that in my life. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love...
It's just sad that they're going to kill most of these people. So
yeah, we'll see, I guess. I mean, I really liked a lot of the characters that they picked. It was definitely, James Gunn just kind of going to the candy store and just, picking characters that he loved, I guess, growing up. I mean, the only ones that I really knew were Savant and the Thinker, and that was it. And I don't even know that much about them. I just remember them, and they're zany characters from C-level DC comic books. So, I mean, but they look awesome.
Who are you expecting to be the fan favorite characters come next August when it's released?
I think Polka Dot Man's gonna be the one. Just seems so outlandish, and I like the actor that plays him. He was in The Dark Knight.
Yeah, and the Ant-Man movies.
I like him. He's got a weird look about him, and he just seems super. I think he was the most amped up one out of most of the people there.
That one German guy seems so weird.
Oh,
Flew Labor.
Yeah, I forgot.
I don't know anything he's from, but he sounds hilarious.
He was.
I bet he's the first to die.
I'm pretty sure he was in one of the Pitch Perfect movies. I think that's what he was in.
Oh yeah, I looked at his Wikipedia.
Yeah, I think he was like a villain in the second movie.
That's pretty funny. He seems hilarious.
Yeah.
His character's got that awful blonde wig and that bright blue. I read up on a lot of these super villains, and most of them are... I know Pete Davidson's character just sucks. Pete Davidson's character is the worst super villain.
Oh yeah, Blackguard.
Yeah, he tried to go up against... I forgot what superhero... Booster Gold? And lost. Yeah, and then because of that, got kicked out of whatever evil society he was in because he couldn't beat Booster Gold. So I expect him to die fairly early.
I think Weasel is going to be one that people are just going to love. Because that character,
Weasel and King Shark would be the ones that.
I'm super excited. I love Steve Agee.
Yeah,
that people are going to go crazy for.
King Shark's amazing. He's a lot of fun.
I'm excited for King Shark. I mean, the Thinker's cool with Capaldi.
Yeah.
Such an eclectic cast.
It's so odd. And King Shark's had this weird renaissance over the last...
Yeah, you're right.
Few years. I think he's been in 4 or 5 different incarnations of DC things.
Yeah. He's been in a lot of animated movies and shows he's popped up.
He's one of the 4 leads in the Suicide Squad game that they showed at FanDome also.
Yeah. He's a fan favorite.
All right, let's move on to the Snyder Cut. So, again, we got another about 25-minute panel. For the most part, they kept the focus on Zack Snyder himself and his relationship with the fans, which I thought was pretty neat, just because the fans are the only reason this thing is actually happening.
That's for sure.
We got a new trailer, or the first trailer for his definitive version of the film, along with the announcement that it will be split into 4-hour parts. So it will be a 4-hour miniseries that airs on HBO Max next year. That latter part you already knew. But what do you guys think of the trailer itself? It had Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. Not much. Did it have any dialogue, or was it just the song? Or it had at the very end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder loves that song. He's used it in Watchmen. He's now used it in this trailer. I mean, it looks very Zack Snyder. You know, it looks fun. I think it'll be a pretty film. It'll be interesting to see if it ends up being better than the first incarnation.
JP, as someone who you relatively like Justice League, and I can't really speak much for the film. I don't believe not because I just don't really remember it. Not because I didn't enjoy it or anything. How much differences did you see between what you the Whedon film, Whedon cut, and the Snyder cut?
Well, it looks like he eliminated most of the humor, which I'm okay with. I feel like from what I've read about what he was trying to go for, the humor seemed a little counterintuitive because this was supposed to build up to something really horrible, and then the next movie was supposed to be something bigger. All these scenes that were shown all seem to be. It took one of the, I guess, Whedon scenes and put it in a different direction, because you have the shot of Cyborg's dad basically sacrificing himself with the mother box scene in the movie, in the original, or not the original, I guess the Whedon cut. He survives, and that's all happy, and they probably make a joke at that point too. It seems like there's going to be no jokes at that point because he's just going to die and Cyborg's going to scream and probably do something cool. It seems like they're building a lot around these characters, and I think that's something that Justice League really missed, because it felt like they were just rushing them all together to get to this thing, and then they hopped around fighting Steppenwolf in a couple different places, losing every time. It seems like they're gonna focus more on the characters themselves and coming together to fight Steppenwolf than just magically showing up together. I know Flash had that whole scene where he saves what looks like Iris.
Yes.
From the car, and that seemed really cool. It wasn't in the original Justice League. It looks cool. It looks pretty. Now,
I'm just intrigued by seeing an entirely different cut of a movie that's almost twice as long.
Yeah. Here's the real question. Are they going to release all 4 episodes at the same time? Or am I going to have to wait between them?
I think you're going to have to wait, because why else? Why wouldn't you just put out the one movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Snyder said during the panel that at some point they're going to put them all together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're definitely going to. It's definitely going to be a staggered release. 1 hour a piece on the release, 4 releases or 4 episodes. Which, I mean, it's got to be. I was kind of skeptical about how different this director's cut would be, but I mean, there's 2 hours of extra footage. I mean, Whedon he shot a good. There's got to be a good chunk of film that there's also just being eliminated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's not using any footage that Whedon used, apparently.
So that's
none.
So then, what's that going to be like? 2.5 hours, 3 hours of brand new footage that we haven't seen.
Yeah, I mean, apparently he's going to do reshoots too. I think that the 4 episodes is also going to just allow them time to, finish it within.
I don't think they're doing any reshoots. I think it's just post-production work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they said they're not going to bring anyone in to do reshoots.
They might have to might do some voiceover stuff.
Oh, okay.
Voice work, but
It's going to be absolutely insane if they release a movie that's completely different than what they put out in theaters. And you gotta wonder, what the fuck is the studio thinking when they do something like this?
I think it's, if anything, it's going to end up being very, very different. I think that's a given. I don't think it's going to be the same movie at all. I think it's going to be incredibly different.
I think the
On
story's
purpose.
going to be the same, but how we get there is going to be vastly different.
One thing that I noticed that, and there's going to be more of this. I mean, he's going down to the point where he's changing the color of the sky in certain scenes.
Well, his grading was always different than Joss Whedon's.
Yeah, but he's changing backgrounds. He's changing all of these things, So
I like it. He's had a lot of time to think about it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He could finally make a movie that isn't hollow garbage that looks really pretty. So.
And if they are doing it, sorry, I'll let you go, Doug.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, he has the advantage of now 4 hours of a movie to get whatever point he wants to get across. He's got feedback now for the last few years about what people liked and what people didn't like. I mean, he's in a much better place than he would have been at the time that his cut would have come out. I mean, I think this is going to be kind of one of those, like, if it's not good, like, you got like every shot you could possibly get to make this into a good movie.
Close the book on Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing...
Can we finally close the book on Zack Snyder after this?
No,
if it's not
two
good?
or three more movies.
The only thing I worry about with him as a director is he doesn't take criticism well at all. So I think...
No, he does not.
I think he's still going to do exactly what he feels is best, even though it probably won't be good.
It's his cut.
But it's his cut.
It's got his name all over it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's a good director, but I mean, he makes pretty things, and I'm hoping that this is entertaining. You know, the bar for me is set very low, but we'll see.
Maybe it'll look like shit and just have the most substance of any movie ever.
I mean, it would be hilarious if this comes out and it's unanimously horrendous, like god awful. I think
it'd be hilarious if it's one of the best superhero movies of all time.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
what the hell
either
do
way,
you do?
yeah.
You're going to have to get Henry Cavill back to play Superman. You're not going to be able to just go, oh, well, I guess we can't make another Justice League. You're going to have to go back on 4 or 5 years of just completely tearing the walls down. It's the complete opposite of burn this motherfucker down. We got to build this motherfucker back up, and we got to just let Zack Snyder do whatever he wants to do. Now, that's probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to be one of the greatest superheroes movies of all time, but man,
it's like the Snyderverse is back.
World if it is.
Circling back to what we were saying about like the whole miniseries versus movie thing, the reason why they're doing it as a miniseries is clearly so people can't use free trials or something like that to watch it. This is entirely, the whole thing was announced, I believe, the week that HBO Max was launching. This is a way to get subscriptions.
That makes sense, Murph.
Looking for a month or two.
And yeah, exactly. And then if they want, let's say 6 months down the road after that, they can do that 4-hour cut as a movie and throw it in theaters if they want. Make some more money that way. Throw it in
4-hour movie.
Do like a week. Do like a week in IMAX with an intermission.
Warner Brothers hired Murph. Hire this man. That's a good idea.
It's money. It's a way to get money on multiple fronts because they're paying $30 million for these reshoots. Whatever they're doing. So it's not
a lot of money.
It's not cheap. Exactly. And it was already one of the most expensive movies of all time. So now it's like, what? I'm gonna look up the numbers. You guys say something while I look up the numbers.
I mean, I could not. The one thing that came, I thought the trailer. I said this to you guys before, but I thought the trailer was so pretentious. It was just like Zack Snyder's like, I'm back.
Well, the music.
Look at me.
Yeah, Hallelujah is a pretty.
I am a god.
What was up with the? Does anyone have any speculation as to why the aspect ratio wasn't like a full widescreen aspect ratio? Why we got that little like boxy?
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, because we're going full screen, Doug. Back to the early days. No stupid widescreen garbage. He's gonna get all the theaters in America to change the aspect ratio of their screens. You're gonna have to buy those big rectangular televisions again.
So
going back.
I have a question. Now, do you think we're gonna get more Jesse Eisenberg?
Oh yeah, he said he shot a lot of stuff and he wasn't even in the movie.
Oh my god!
I think it's cool.
I don't need that.
See Darkseid, and I think that was really neat. Seeing him right off the bat was
Darkseid.
Jesse Eisenberg claimed he didn't even know what the center cut was.
That's surprising.
I didn't. Darkseid. I mean, it was cool seeing him, but he looked a little rough.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a year.
Yeah. When is it coming out? When's the release date?
2021. They did not give a definitive release date.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would imagine spring or summer. They're not going to put it out right around the same time as The Batman.
I hope they do more with Cyborg's costume. I hope he doesn't look like a crappy render, because the CGI for his character was really bad.
Yeah, it was.
For that expensive of a movie, just can't have that happen.
$300 million, fifth most expensive movie of all time.
That's crazy.
And
What is
it will-
number 1 and 2?
It will be up. It will at least be number 4. Number 1 and 2 are Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides
Oh my god.
and Avengers: Age of Ultron.
That's what they say is if you're on the ocean,
On the
if you
water.
have anything to do with boats and water, it's really expensive to make a movie.
Yeah, Waterworld says hi.
Yeah. So just, when we make our first movie, guys, just make sure it's not on water.
We're not going to make a pirate movie? Ugh.
We can make a pirate movie on land.
Pirate movie
Boats or something like that.
and then in space also. So we'll go to the water and then to space.
We'll call our boy Tom Cruise.
Yeah. That's insane though. $330 million.
Yeah,
How much did it make?
600,
yeah.
500 something.
Good lord, that's bad.
How
How much do they honestly think they're going to make?
I don't know.
I guess $30 million, probably $60 million. I would hope.
They've cut their losses on that already a while ago. But
They didn't
It
cut their
made-
losses. They gave him $30 million. That's the opposite of cutting your losses. That's doubling down.
It made 657.9 million. So we had lost a ton of money.
They're praying to make.
my brain still continues to hurt. This movie is one of the most expensive movies of all time. How did they think that CGI Henry Cavill mustache was fine?
They didn't have any money left.
Oh,
They decided to reshoot the entire movie, and he showed up with his weird mustache beard combo.
Well, that was all Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is like, you ain't shaving that. You're in my movie.
More importantly, how did we end up spending the most time talking about a mini-series of a movie that already came out?
But it's because it's just so unique. This is such
Yeah.
a weird thing to have happen.
Unprecedented.
You're gonna make superhero movies, but who the hell ever thought they'd remake a superhero movie into a 4-part series that didn't make any money?
Very true.
Best possible time.
All right, but let's go into an actual new film. We've got Black Adam coming out in December of 2021, and it is starring the most bankable, biggest star in Hollywood, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Box office juggernaut.
Yeah. He's been attached to this movie for like 12, 10 years, something like that. Like a crazy amount of time. And it is finally coming out pretty soon. We got a logo for the film. We got more details about it. Basically, the panel was a 15-minute hype session from The Rock. He just was getting everyone amped up, just talking about like his passion for the character and how he's going to completely take over the DCEU. Any newcomers, any comers from the Justice League, whoever can come take him on. And he says Black Adam's going to kick their ass. The big reveal, I guess, was the fact that the Justice Society of America has they're involved in the film. So he announced that Dr. Fate, Cyclone, Atom Smasher, and Hawkman are all a part of the film. I'm not familiar with these characters or the JSA. I believe the majority of you guys are. So maybe you can give our audience and myself a little bit of a background on them.
It's the precursor to the Justice League.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Dr. Fate. I know Atom Smasher they have on the CW shows, played by Brandon Routh, right?
Yeah.
Just basically gets big or small. He's Ant-Man in the DCEU. Hawkman's pretty cool.
Is he like Hawkeye? Does he have arrows?
No, he
He has wings.
And
That
a
makes-
mace
that-
that he
That makes
beats
more
the crap
sense.
out of. He's not Birdman. Birdman's a different superhero.
Is he bird person?
No, he's Birdman because there's Bird.
Yeah, there's
Woman and Bird Woman
And
Oh,
Hawk
sorry,
Girl.
yeah.
Hawk Girl.
Sorry, I went on Bird. I'm getting them confused. There goes my credibility about avian superheroes. Yeah, Hawk Girl was actually supposed to be in this movie. The Rock tweeted something out after FanDome and said that she was supposed to be in it, but for some reason it got cut, and they brought in Cyclone. Which is interesting because it makes it sound like these characters are already cast?
Well, I guess one guy was. There was somebody that was actually at the panel that The Rock brought out. I had never heard of the actor before. His name is Noah
Syndergaard?
Noah Centineo. I'm trying to see what he's been in before. He's playing Adam Smasher. He's been in, I think, some Netflix movies. To All the Boys.
Okay. Not familiar with that one.
I don't think Black Adam's going to be a super expensive film. I mean, it's like a Warner Brothers New Line film. It's in the Shazam type of universe. I don't think they spent too much money on Shazam. Correct me if I'm wrong. He basically has the same
He's
powers
one
for
of
the
the
most
first
part.
Shazams.
Yeah.
It's set back in ancient, I think, Egyptian times. But it's not Egypt. It's a fake Middle Eastern country, and he's sort of an anti-hero that the hype video he made for it kind of made it spell it out, where they fight for truth, justice, and the American way, and he just sort of does whatever he can to get truth and justice. He fights for his own way.
Almost like the Punisher type of thing.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
And that's why he sort of goes off the rails and becomes bad. There's a lot of stories of him fighting Superman. I would like to see that. I mean, his superpower rock is. I don't know how you don't pony up the money to go see that in theaters. It's too good to pass up.
So you're not expecting a Scorpion King like film from this? This is going to be more of like a Fast Five situation where he comes in and just takes the franchise to the next level.
I think so. I mean, I don't think he's gonna take it over because honestly, Shazam was a great movie in its own rights, and the charisma in the movie, I feel like could go toe to toe with a Dwayne The Rock Johnson production. But I mean, he's definitely gonna take over a little bit because his superpower in real life is inflating box office numbers.
I find it so strange that they got the biggest star in the world for Black Adam, and then they got basically a TV actor for Shazam. So when they cross over, which I imagine will be after Shazam 2 and Black Adam, it's going to be really weird seeing those two facing off in a film.
It will be, for sure.
But I'm sure they'll make it work.
I think so.
I'm the most interested with, because I know we were talking about the Justice Society and like all those characters. The one that really jumped out to me was Dr. Fate, because Dr. Fate is like, he's a pretty prevalent like villain in DC, and he's pretty interesting. Like, it's multiple people that it's like a helmet that takes over humans, so it's not that exact person, and the helmet has taken control of like so many people over the years. So I just wonder how they're gonna do that.
That's pretty cool. I mean,
it just inhabits you once you put the mask
that
on.
level of mysticism with the Shazam mythos that I think probably works perfectly for something like a sentient helmet that makes people evil or gives them superpowers. I think that's pretty neat. And
his powers are very much like Doctor Strange, like very magical, very ethereal, but it's a helmet that is sentient that just picks its next, person that it's going to inhabit. So
it's pretty cool. The costumes look fantastic. DC, between the Suicide Squad, the stuff they showed with the Flash, and this, they're really going all in on the comic booky, colorful, sort of page accurate costumes, and I love it. It's something Marvel kind of refuses to do.
Well, they have so much history like that they can fall back on. They haven't really utilized. Now they can do that. They should have been doing that.
Yeah, I think the best thing they could have ever done was that when they gave Aquaman the green and gold suit. It was not. I didn't expect that in James Bond. And boom, there was, and it looked great on screen. Even though, if you told me 15 years ago that they were going to make an Aquaman movie and he was going to have a green and gold suit, I'd say that's going to look absolutely ridiculous. But it worked. And I think it's sort of given them a little bit of confidence to be able to go in and say, look, you can do what you want to do with your costumes. You can make them. The Suicide Squad ones look outlandish.
Mm-hmm.
John Cena's costume as Peacemaker looks goofy as hell, and I'm sure it'll look a little bit better when it's accurately color graded on the screen and stuff. But it's out there, and especially since what they did with the first Suicide Squad. I know we're getting back to Suicide Squad, but I'll jump out of that in a second. They sort of dumbed down the costumes there a little bit too. I guess they gave Deadshot the over the top one. But I like that they're doing that with this. Like Black Adam seems like it's going to be an over the top movie, just like Shazam was, and now you got The Rock leading it. Hard to believe it's going to be a bad movie.
Yeah, agreed. But you did mention Aquaman, so let's get into the panel about that film. Primarily, it was focused on the original film. I was just James Wan, the director, and Patrick Wilson, who played Orm, the Ocean Master, just kind of shooting the shit for 10 minutes. As far as updates, the new Aquaman 2 is a long ways away. As of now, it's December of 2022. But like we had previously talked about, I think we all agree there's a fair chance it could get pushed to 2023 for various reasons, namely Avatar 2 and COVID delays for filming. But what they did reveal about the second film is that it will have a slightly darker tone to it, a more serious tone, and Patrick Wilson, despite being the villain of the first film and being apprehended at the end, he will be returning for the film.
Yeah.
I didn't see this one, so this is all news to me.
Yeah. Personally, I'm happy that Patrick Wilson's returning. Thought he was a bright spot of the film. I think all four of us were pleasantly surprised by how Aquaman turned out. It was a massive smash. So if they do one of these next year, I imagine we'll get a ton more info. But I don't really have much to say about it other than those updates. Corey, I think you were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I wonder if her name escapes me.
Amber Heard.
Amber Heard, there you go. Wonder if she's going to return as Mira.
She pooped the bed.
She did. I feel like Warner Brothers is going to stay as far away from her as possible, but it'll be interesting to see. she pooped the bed. That was the nail in the coffin.
Like she'll be missed.
No, they could recast her for sure. One thing I was going to say was I was really happy to see that Patrick Wilson is going to be returning, because Orm as, I guess, a good guy is actually like really, really interesting, because there's a cool dynamic between the brothers. He sees the error in his ways, and he ends up being like a sidekick.
I don't think Loki's ever seen the error of his ways.
No,
he did it in Endgame.
Ah, yes, right before he.
But he will be back for a TV show next year on Disney Plus.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, their dynamic the dynamic between him and Aquaman, from what I've read in the comics, is actually really cool. So I hope they do that. I mean, he was really good as that character, and they seem to have really good chemistry. So I'm sure it'll be awesome. And
it would be a cool story arc to explore, because you don't see a whole lot about redemption and people, making wrong and
in the fish world
themselves.
Yep.
In the fish world, in the real world currently, in movies. It'd be a neat thing to explore.
And Manta, I'm sure, is going to be back, played by
cool
as
hell.
It seems like he'll be the primary villain, right?
Yeah. And
That
he was awesome.
That dude's exposure is going up so much in the years since Aquaman.
He's such a good actor. Is
great on Watchmen.
Yeah.
He's the star of Candyman.
Yeah. His costume was out of this world.
Mm-hmm. James Wan.
He should have just waited for that submarine to fill up, then he probably could have pushed that torpedo off his dad, and none of this would have ever happened.
But
I mean, I guess torpedoes aren't really supposed to
movie
be
logic.
Yeah,
movie logic. That's all that matters. All right, let's get into the final film, though, from FanDome, with the exception of the Batman, and that is Shazam 2, which is officially titled Shazam Fury of the Gods. That was the biggest announcement from the show. It was definitely a jokey tone. This panel, I don't know, it was 10, 15 minutes, had a bunch of the child actors from the first film, along with some of their adult counterparts, including Zachary Levi, Megan Good, and Adam Brody. But I think, well, I'd say the biggest part of it was the appearance of 1990s comedian extraordinaire Sinbad, who showed up and ended up being on it for the majority of the time.
Calling it right now, the villain.
Right now there are internet reports that are conflicting whether he is or is not in the film. I'm personally hoping that he is.
How do you drop a Sinbad bomb on us, not confirm he's in the movie?
He needs to be the villain. He needs to be the villain.
I want him to play Sinbad.
The villain, Sinbad.
No, like Sinbad
just
from
like
literature as Sinbad. I want to see the word Sinbad as Sinbad on the thing. I don't know if he has anything to do with
Sinbad Renaissance.
I would like to see him play his disgruntled postal worker character after he gets out of jail after 25 years in prison for putting bombs and threatening people with bombs.
So the basis is just there's a Shazam doll that someone really wants.
I mean, then you got to bring Arnold back.
That's true. You do have to bring Arnold back. He needs to save the day.
Of course.
Turbo Man.
I'm the original Shazam.
Yeah, but I guess the reason why Sinbad was there was, I guess there was an internet meme or joke around the time of the first movie coming out, and everyone was convinced that Sinbad was in a movie called Shazam previously. But it was really people thinking of they should have been thinking of Shaq and Kazam. Both the actor and the character wrong. And that was apparently the reason why he ended up being in the panel this past week.
Oh, that's a horrible, horrible tease.
It was going back to a joke from, I guess, a year or two ago. But maybe he will be in the film. One can only hope. I mean, we were happy that he was there.
Yeah.
I know there was probably tons of Gen Z people who were like, who the hell is this guy? That's what I was saying about the kids that were there. They were probably like, what? Who is this dude that's randomly showing up at our While Zachary Levi and Adam Brody were probably like, yeah, here he is.
You need to go back and you need to watch House Guest for all the Gen Zers out there. That's a fantastic movie.
House Guest, First Kid, Jingle All the Way. You're set.
Wasn't he in Blank Check as well? I feel like he was.
That's
no,
not
he was
writer.
But does anyone else have anything that they've got for Shazam? I didn't really hear the entire thing, so I don't know if I missed anything. Doug, did you see anything?
They didn't have anything to really talk about. That was kind of strange. They just were like Zachary Levi was just kind of like, I don't really have a lot to share, so I'm just going to be up here talking.
Here's a 20-minute meme with Sinbad.
Here's Sinbad, and then they were like, here's the title, which is I like it. I think it's a badass title, but yeah, we didn't really get much more out of the panel.
Sounds like a movie you go to shovel popcorn in your face.
Yeah, I want to see what gods are furious.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's multiple ones, so.
Well, I'm sure we will find out more probably by the end of the year. This film's coming out in, I believe, November of 2022. So we'll probably get some casting announcements before the end of the year. But all right, that's it for now for DC. Not to be left out of the whole comic book news craziness this past week, Sony dropped a couple bombs for their Marvel universe of films. Two things. So we have a Kraven the Hunter movie that is definitely coming out, and as of now, J.C. Chandor, the director of A Most Violent Year at Triple Frontier, is attached to direct. I'm not sure. I don't believe it's officially signed off on, but the film is definitely going to happen. And then we have a untitled female-focused Marvel film, directed by Olivia Wilde, that a lot of people are speculating is Spider-Woman. How do these two films sound to you, along with just the expansion of the Sony Marvel superhero universe expanding outside of Venom, Morbius, and the Spider-Man films that are attached to the MCU, along with the Spider-Verse?
Are these ones made in conjunction with Marvel, or is this just Sony doing it?
These will be like in association with Marvel, where it doesn't have anything to do with MCU. It would be like Venom and Morbius.
Okay, yeah, I'm probably out then. I don't trust Sony.
Yeah, I mean, Sony grasping at straws, trying to, make money on, whatever properties I guess they have the rights to. I mean, maybe we'll still get the Aunt May movie, that origin story.
Maybe Aunt May.
One can only hope.
I mean, maybe it's just Aunt May as Spider-Woman.
Yeah,
possible.
maybe.
It's possible.
Or maybe that's the untitled female Marvel movie. It's
Aunt May.
just Aunt May.
Um,
Day in the life of Aunt
Bernard.
May.
She hangs out with Bernard and they talk. They give horrible advice to their superhero, their supervillain counterparts.
As far as the directors that they got attached to them, I think both of them are pretty great. Booksmart was a fantastic debut from Olivia Wilde, and the two films I referenced before from J.C. Chandor I liked a lot. And I think the difference between Morbius and Venom and these two is those didn't really have legit directors. Like, they were okay. But with these ones, it seems like we're getting people that have a clear vision.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know too much about Kraven the Hunter or Spider-Woman, if that's what it ends up being. But I'm looking more forward to these two than Morbius. That was even prior to seeing the Morbius trailer. I just had no interest in that when I first heard of it.
I actually didn't realize that until now that the Kraven announcement was a standalone movie. I thought he was going to be maybe a villain in the next Spider-Man movie. I didn't realize that they're actually gonna be developing a film just based on him.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess Morbius has Michael Keaton's character, has Vulture, from Spider-Man Homecoming. So if they want to bring in more of these side characters or villains from the Spider-Man Home movies, they could if they wanted to.
I forgot about Keaton being in the Morbius trailer.
Yeah, what?
It's pretty interesting how those movies are both part of the MCU and part of the Sony universe. But MCU's the Sony movies, they're not part of the MCU. With the exception of the Homecoming movies.
I'd be leery about them Sony superhero movies.
But you gonna JP, you got something?
Kraven's a bad guy, right?
Yes.
I don't get the fascination with making movies about villains and following them.
I thought he was going to be in Spider-Man 3 just because you would have thought Peter would be getting hunted or something like that after everyone finds out that he's Spider-Man, which is, again, a really cool development into that series since it hasn't been done yet.
It's cool, but also at the same time, in the MCU, it seems that everyone knows who the hell every superhero is. They don't have secret identities.
True.
But it will be cool. I guess this kind of rules him out from being in the Spider-Man movies, unless this is a I can't imagine it would be a precursor.
Well, this Spider-Man will definitely come out first, Spider-Man 3.
Yeah,
because that's coming out next November of 2021. So this Kraven movie wouldn't come out till 2022 at the earliest.
Gotcha.
So maybe, they could debut him in this one in Spider-Man if they wanted to.
It's a pretty big gamble.
If that was the plan. Yeah, it is.
He would have been the perfect villain, though. I mean, it would have fit really well with Peter being on the run. But yeah, I'm with you, Murph, in that the directors are definitely intriguing, but I don't know, Spider-Woman, I don't really know a ton about. but I don't know. It would have been more interesting to focus more in on like a Gwen Stacy or somebody else that I was more intrigued with. I don't really know anything about Spider-Woman. And then Kraven the Hunter is interesting, but I mean, he's a Spider-Man villain, so doing him without Spider-Man seems kind of, I don't know what else. Like, Spider-Man's supposed to be his, like, you know, like one of the hardest preys to hunt for Kraven the Hunter, so we're just going to watch him, like, hunt animals? Like, I don't really understand.
It's a 2-hour African safari movie.
What is he?
It ends up being in conjunction with Disney Nature.
Oh my goodness. Please do that.
So, yeah.
I guess they did it with Venom, though, and Venom's... I didn't know Venom without Spider-Man, and people seem to like the Venom movie.
Venom was a smash.
It looked like a turd floating in the wind.
But people have always been drawn to Venom because he looks like Spider-Man. And he's like a very cool-looking character. I mean, they got to do a complete redesign if they're going to make Kraven look cool on his own.
You don't like the big bushy like cheetah blanket that he wears with his bare chest? I'm not a big fan of that.
Movie.
I had that
Like
action
Venom
figure when
does.
I was a kid. I didn't know who the fuck it was.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, hope it works out for them, but yeah, I'm not sold on them. I think it feels like another Morbius.
Well, we will see sooner or later. But let's take a break from superheroes for the time being and get into what we watched over this past week. Corey, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I dug into Dave Franco's directorial debut, The Rental. It's basically like a home invasion slasher, kind of a horror film. So around two couples that, you know, rent an Airbnb, I guess, at the beach, and the apartment owner is actually like a peeping Tom watching them, and he tries to kill them. You know, I thought the film was shot really well, and the acting was surprisingly good. I mean, you had Alison Brie in it, Dan Stevens. The only thing I know him from is Legion, and I think he played Beast in Beauty and the Beast, the live action.
Oh yeah.
He was
really good.
The two of them were fantastic. The owner was trying to think of his name, Toby Huss, I think. I remember him from Reno 911. The things that I've seen him in were all comedic, so it was kind of hard at first to take him seriously, but the movie was shot really well. The one thing that disappointed me was you could definitely tell, and I mentioned this, I think, to you guys a couple nights ago, that the screenplay was very obvious that it was Franco's kind of like first film, because he wrote the script for this too, and it wasn't bad. It was good. It just was very limited and very hollow. It was kind of there wasn't really a lot of unique things that he did from a story perspective. The really unique pieces were definitely with the visuals. It was shot really well. Like, I think that's where he excelled. But the story itself was kind of, meh. It was fun. I would recommend watching it.
So how does directing compare to James with Disaster Artist?
I do think that he's talented. I think that you can see that his brother was probably influenced on this, even though he wasn't, credited. I think, he probably helped him in some ways, because the movie definitely had that almost like documentary type of feel that Disaster Artist had. And a lot of the shots I noticed were very similar. But it was more like the atmosphere was what really he kind of nailed in this. I'd like to see him do another, horror movie. Maybe not a home invasion type of film exactly like this. Do something a little different, but I think this is a genre that he could definitely hone his skills in. But it was definitely ended up being kind of just mediocre in the end. I would definitely watch it though. And I think it's...
You are selling it so well right now. It is mediocre. You should definitely watch it.
It's your guys' first outing as a director, first time writing a script, right?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, I think I remember Alison Brie being on a talk show or something talking about it, and she was, I think, heavily involved in writing the script.
Okay.
Things like that. Of course she is. They live together, are married, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was...
I'm sure they collaborated.
She was really good. The acting was great. It wasn't even the acting that as a whole that was mediocre. They were fantastic. The dialogue was good. It's just the overall story and the way that it was presented was just kind of samey, I guess. It just seemed like a movie that I've seen before. There wasn't anything really unique in the story department. But I would like you guys to watch it. I mean, if you're interested, and see if you feel a little bit differently, because I know from what I read online, people are kind of in the middle. No one has been like it's terrible or it's amazing, but it seems kind of down the middle, like a decent directorial debut.
And where can we watch this?
I think I'm trying to think. Apple. I don't know if it's on. If it's on all the other streaming services, but I know it's on Apple, on iTunes. But I'd definitely give it a watch.
Yeah, it looks like it's on the iTunes store.
I don't know if it's an exclusive or not.
It says iTunes store and other streaming services.
Okay.
And it was actually just the second film to ever top both the box office and rental charts, I guess, at the same time.
Oh.
Wait, what box
office?
What's the box office?
Drive-ins. That's pretty much the box office right now.
Okay.
Well, it
75.
was.
Be really interesting to see what those numbers are. I mean, I can't imagine they're making a ton of money in drive-ins.
Oh, we'd be surprised. It made a whopping $1.9 million.
Good Lord.
Wow.
James Franco living the good life right now.
I mean, I can't...
There's nothing else new in
That's
drive-in theater?
I can't imagine this movie costing a lot to make, too. I mean, it was shot well, but it definitely was more along the lines of a low-budget film.
Well, you got to think, how much is an Airbnb per night? It's only maybe $250. Probably less if you go cheap and go somewhere where no one wants to go. And got to hire a murderer. And that's probably pretty expensive with union dues.
Mm-hmm. There's a dog in it.
But
got to hire a dog.
Speaking box office, so with theaters opening up this past week, Unhinged actually had a $4 million opening weekend.
Let's
go. Right
Big
now,
numbers.
Unhinged is the number 1 movie of the summer.
That's
It
insane.
only took 3 days.
Heck yeah, dude.
And
that's a commanding $4 million.
And at this point,
Without doubt.
At this point, it's still drive-ins that are open, right? Or are theaters starting to open now in other states? They are? Okay.
Yep. AMC's, all the chains are open in a lot of states.
Any day now, it should be up here. We're in the clear, man. We need to get theaters back open.
And it'll be interesting to talk box office over the next 2 weeks with these new releases coming out, namely New Mutants and Tenet. But China, they actually had a movie come out this past weekend called The 800. And you guys want to guess what that grossed on its opening weekend?
800 whatever China's currency is.
600 million yen.
All right, we're talking U.S. dollars.
$1 billion.
$dollars, yeah.
$1 billion.
$800 million.
82.94 million. So right now, the biggest opening weekend of the year is a Chinese film. the film I believe is going to come to America in drive-ins, but
Is it an
pretty
action
wild.
movie?
Yeah, it looks like a war movie.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when we get an $80-something million movie, opening weekend movie. I
It would.
imagine. Hopefully by the end of the year.
I would hope so. I'll be there. I'll buy as many Bavarian Legends as I can possibly buy, and
Cheers to that, my friend.
I
I
can.
can get a second ticket to fit in inside the seats.
I can taste it. The three of us, we order our own Bavarian Legends and sit next to each other.
Sounds-
Why did I get cut out of this?
Because you live in Florida.
Because you live in Florida, Doug.
They don't have Bavarian Legends. In
Go have your
Florida,
own.
dog.
Go have your own Bavarian legend.
Do you even have AMC's in Florida?
We have AMC's. You guys, we could all
Go to
watch the movie
AMC's.
together.
Go to AMC's. Buy your own Bavarian legend. Bring it home and watch a crappy Netflix movie like Six Underground.
Yeah, I mean, who the hell would ever watch that movie?
Yeah, why would anyone ever watch Six Underground? Especially when I think someone else watched it and said it wasn't good.
Well, I've got a surprise for you guys because I've continued my watching Netflix shitty movies, and I watched Six Underground.
Please tell us more.
My ears are open.
How
So
many
I watched
undergrounds
it.
are there?
There's 6. I'd love to tell you guys about what the plot is to this movie, but
Good luck.
I couldn't follow what the fuck was going on. It was just like, it was almost nonsensical, the plot. It's Michael Bay, and so Michael Bay doesn't care about plots. What Michael Bay does care about, and which we got, was a laughable amount of explosions. Like, shit just explodes for the sake of exploding. I guess, like, the biggest part that happens is so the movie opens up with this kind of, like, almost infamous now at this point, car chase in Florence. Cars are just, like, blowing up left and right out of nowhere. It's like, if you haven't seen the car chase, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. That's worth seeing in and of itself just because it's bonkers. It's like Michael Bay unleashed. Speaking of Michael Bay-isms, you've got super cheesy dialogue throughout that I don't think, even with like Ryan Reynolds' delivery, he could save. You got tons of. You got
Dave Franco.
We did have Dave Franco. This is our second Dave Franco movie on Movie.
Wow.
Dave Franco's the driver of this car chase.
And the driver of this segment so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Yep. Murph's got the jokes. We also had like this gratuitous, for no reason, scene of just like women in their underwear. These models in their underwear, which are like, Michael Bay demanded that this like scene be in the movie. And it was just like, it was Michael Bay, but like unleashed is the only way I can describe 600 Round. It was everything that kind of made you cringe about a Michael Bay movie. It was just like to the max. And it just like didn't work for me. I mean, it's out of the Netflix movies that I've talked about in the last few weeks, it was easily the worst one. It was a meandering plot. I couldn't follow. The action was like just over the top to the point where it was like comical. Like, I just like, this movie didn't work at all. I mean, I love Ryan Reynolds. I enjoyed seeing him on screen, but like, you can't.
There was a reason it went to Netflix.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like Ryan Reynolds would have been a good mouthpiece for Michael Bay.
What's
It's odd
funny,
that doesn't work out.
the film is from the Deadpool writers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
Really?
it's like the ultimate vehicle for Ryan Reynolds, and it's like you're
Mhm.
saying it's like an old busted ass 1989 Volvo or something. Just a
Yeah,
shit movie.
I didn't enjoy it. I mean, it would have been helpful if I could have followed what the hell was going on in the movie. But it was just like none of it made any sense. There's a character that gets rescued over and over again, and you're unsure as to like why or
the same person kidnaps him and then rescues him. I was like, what's going on here?
It was just like, I don't know. I felt like I had like missed a chunk of the movie, or I don't know. It was bizarre.
It was done in a weird, non-linear fashion that wasn't necessary. Like they could have told the story in a very different way, and it probably would have made more sense. But the way they chose to do it, it was just fucking it was ridiculous. The Bayhem it didn't work out this time. Honestly,
Yeah, I mean,
he's been in a lull since like 2007.
Nah, man, Pain and Gain is a great movie.
Oh no, you're right. My bad.
Pain and Gain is fantastic.
So 2012 or 13?
Something like that. Gotta get the numbers right.
2013.
2013. That was a great movie.
Yeah, I thought it had some
Yeah.
okay acting and characters, but just the writing was just not there.
Yeah, I'd almost say like YouTube the car chase scene because that's kind of the coolest part of the movie. But like I said, even that had like
The magnets. That was the coolest part of the movie.
Magnets.
Yes, science.
I
They
forgot the magnets. That was like Ryan Reynolds' whole thing. Is he was like some
Obsessed with magnets.
yeah, pretty much.
What is he? Insane clown posse?
He's like this magnet genius. I want to say.
A magnet genius.
Like Charlie from Always Sunny. What are your hobbies? Magnets?
he is just killing people with magnets in this film.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
All right,
And
that's
there was
weird.
a guy that was like his whole skill, I think, was like just parkour. He just like parkour and everything.
Yeah, it was Angel from X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh God.
And we were like, why is he scaling this building?
Because
Or, why is he scaling this building? And I was like, it's parkour.
Because why
Yes.
not? Why not?
Yeah.
Well, you guys are not selling this movie at all to me.
Yeah, no, this goes in the do not recommend file.
Yeah, no, this
Sounds
is
like it.
garbage.
Just because you have a Netflix account doesn't mean you need to watch everything that Netflix puts out.
Good lord.
But
And speaking
I
of
will watch it. Netflix puts out.
yeah, speaking of everything Netflix puts out, JP, you caught up on The Old Guard, so I'm the only one who hasn't watched it at this point.
Oh.
Yeah, so you got to get with the times because I follow the recommendations of my fellow podcasters here. So
Thank you, sir.
it's out, and I've lost all respect for you guys.
Come on.
So getting away from talking about superhero movies, let's talk about a superhero movie. That's not really been a superhero movie. You guys built this one up pretty big last time we talked about it. It's a pretty decent movie. We went over all this in the previous podcast, so I won't go too crazy into it. But it definitely has a little bit of a Highlander feel to it, where these people can live forever, but they still die though. So I went into this, I didn't expect it, right off the bat they just die.
We mentioned that.
Did you? Maybe I just don't listen to you guys.
We absolutely had a conversation about how they
I
die.
saw you put it on the outline, and that was it.
Probably. One thing that you did mention that I didn't get enough of was they have these weapons in the beginning, aside from guns. They don't really ever use them. It would have been cool to see them use them a little bit more.
Yeah, no.
There were a
That's
couple
true.
scenes, where they used them in conjunction with their modern day weapons, I guess, but they definitely didn't use them enough.
I remember one maybe, and then at the end, for a very brief moment. But I thought the characters were all pretty cool. I thought the story was all right. The villain's kind of horrible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the villain sucks.
Potter.
He played
Dudley.
Yeah, he played Dudley in Harry Potter. He was the villain, Murph. Yes.
I don't know who that is.
I thought the same thing. Yeah, he's the
I
villain
thought
in the
it was
movie.
Jared from The Office, but British.
The actor who plays Dudley, and he's not fat, he's thin, and very British, of course. It's weird.
Yeah, the plot was okay. He's an evil pharmaceutical guy that wants to kill them to save the world or something.
Yeah, wants to help other people live forever. Yeah,
He's
a bad guy.
He was a dick, but he wasn't. I wasn't thinking he was a supervillain or anything. But
I didn't hate
at
him.
the end of the day, I was still rooting for them.
Yeah,
they did cool action stuff, and I liked seeing that. So I thought it was nice. I mean, they set up for another movie, and they set it up pretty well. That I think I would honestly see myself watching a second one.
I agree with you.
Obviously, probably without Charlize Theron, because they sort of leave that as they don't really need her to do it anymore.
I think that
I think star power.
Yeah, I think it could stand by itself.
If I can't get her, it's easy enough to do it without her.
I don't think they need her.
No, probably not.
I thought those characters were interesting enough. Maybe introduce a new one. I don't know.
Yeah. I like them. There was a lot of good story there. I would like to see them go a little bit more in depth with the stuff from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where I thought they were lacking.
Yeah, it was cool though. I mean, definitely worth a watch. It was a pretty quick watch.
Wait, so now I have to watch it? I thought I was going to take your recommendation and not watch it.
No, I was lying. It was all a ruse to get you to feel complacent that you didn't have to watch it.
You son of a bitch.
Yep, that's how it goes. Yeah, I
got
didn't
me
mind it
good.
at all. It was a pretty okay movie, especially for a Netflix production.
I think it was really expensive too, if I remember reading that correctly.
It doesn't seem like it was. I think, God, what was it? Honest Trailers did one for Old Guard, and they were like making fun of the fact that they were like, "We're just outside London, we're just outside France or Paris,"
Yeah.
because they're in like this nondescript area.
There's a couple nice sprawling shots of London that they got on a weekend, unpaid probably. They sent some guy out with a camera and said, just go get a sprawling shot. You're not being paid for this. You can maybe have a pint when you get back to, I don't know, anywhere outside of London, but some town.
Yeah, I mean, they did like, it was pretty funny, the Honest Trailer, just because they were just like poking fun at the fact that like they were never in whatever city they were supposed to be in. They were like just outside.
They go to Paris. They go to Paris and they go to like a Walgreens in Paris, and that's about it. And that's pretty funny. It's kind of spot on there that they don't really film in any premium locations. That's how you keep down. They had to get a helicopter for the one scene, so
That's true. And they had to pay Charlize Theron.
Yeah, I mean that's probably most of the budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was good though. I mean, I like her as a badass.
She's odd. She always kills like the badass female role.
Yeah.
Furiosa.
Yeah, it's really just like Furiosa grew her hair out a little bit more and has a battle axe that she uses in one scene. I can't get over that. I wanted more swordplay, but I didn't do it. So, good movie. Definitely watch it, Murph.
Yeah, Murph.
Watch next week.
Alrighty. I'll throw it on my list of Netflix movies I still have to watch.
Right under 6 Underground.
Oh, I already watched that one. I'm not watching that again. All right, but I will switch it up and go with a TV show, something I heartily endorse. It's a HBO miniseries from back in 2008. It's called Generation Kill. So it was something I binged, 7 episodes over 3 nights. It takes place at the beginning of the Iraq War. It's from David Simon, the creator of The Wire. So throughout this pandemic, I put all of his miniseries on like my list of things to watch. This was my 4th of 4 that I watched, and it was definitely my favorite of all 4 of them. Alexander Skarsgård is the lead. So this took place. This came out, I guess, a couple months before True Blood premiered. So I guess this was his breakout role. But then he really blew up with True Blood. The scene stealer, though, for myself, was James Ransone. He played the older Eddie in It Chapter 2. But basically, the story is just the beginning of the Iraq War. A journalist from Rolling Stone is sent over to Iraq to follow these Marines around for, I believe, 40 or 60 days. I can't recall which it is. And he's basically just like in the shit with them for any sort of attacks that they're starting or that they end up being on the receiving end of. He's in it, but it really focuses on the Marines themselves and shows you how the people above them, like their sergeants or whatever, really don't know what they're doing, but the foot soldiers are so good at what they're doing that despite all the fuck ups that goes on, they don't fuck up bad enough where it's like, okay, like we need to go a different route. So they just keep making these stupid mistakes like throughout this, and you just see the toll that the whole thing is taking on them. But I thought it did a tremendous job of showing like the Marines in their daily life, like how fucking tough what they're going through is, and how difficult of a position that they were put in, where mistakes are just naturally going to happen no matter how hard you try to prevent them. Like, for example, when cars are coming up to them, I guess their initial reaction is if a car's coming at you and they're not stopping, you shoot at the car. Alexander Skarsgård, he was in Afghanistan. And this is based on true story. So it's actual soldiers. He's like, no, let's shoot like a warning shot, and with like the type of bullet that has when it hits on impact, it has like smoke come out. So they'll try to use that as like a way to get people to stop. But by doing that, it'll bounce back. It bounces and hits the person in the head, and a person dies. So it's just like there's so many civilian casualties that are like not intentional and everything like that, and it's rough. But totally made me feel for all the Marines that were over there, and I just thought it was a fantastic portrayal of them.
Check that out. You said HBO?
Yeah, it's HBO, so you can watch it on HBO Max or HBO, whichever app you have. And it was very much a period piece, like being set in 2003. All the characters are singing songs from back in the early 2000s when they're just driving around. Like they're singing like Avril Lavigne, Drowning Pool, Nelly, just all the songs that we were listening to on the radio or on MTV back in high school or middle school, along with classic songs as well. But it's
sweet.
Yeah, and for a drama, it was hilarious. Like James Ransone, you guys, I'm sure all agree that he was really funny in it too. He was hilarious in this one as well. And Alexander Skarsgård does a great like straight man performance, and just is sneakily funny throughout the entire thing. So if you like history or war movies, television shows, I couldn't recommend this one enough.
Cool.
All right, but now that we've all gone through what we individually watched, there were a couple things that some of us watched or all of us watched over this past week. The first one was based on JP's recommendation last week, and Corey and I watched Forgetting Sarah Marshall over the weekend. It was the first time I'd watched it in a super long time. I believe the same for Corey, and goddamn, does that movie hold up?
Yeah. And I was still, I mean, you
I
made
feel so left out.
Sorry, Doug.
I've got to watch it next weekend.
And you made a comment that night. You were like, "How the hell are you quoting this movie still? Have you seen it recently?" And I thought about it after. I really haven't. I don't know why.
He was like throwing out the most obscure quotes in the film, like before the line would happen. I'm like, You watched this like last week also, and just not remember to put it on the list?
No, I for whatever reason that's just ingrained in my mind, I guess. But yeah, that movie really does hold up still. It's just such a funny movie on so many levels.
Yeah, it's a metaphor for crap movie.
It's a metaphor for a good movie.
Yeah, I mean the one thing, oh my god, the one thing that we were dying about, just laughing so hard that we never noticed before, is the green screens.
Oh,
the
God,
terrible.
Yeah. I had actually mentioned something to that when we were watching up in Pennsylvania. I said, that doesn't look real. There's several
atrocious.
shots that are really, really bad.
What green screens?
So
What
there's
scenes?
When they're in Hawaii.
yeah, when
They filmed on location in Hawaai, right?
I mean, I
That's what I
thought
said,
they
too.
did.
But
said-
there
I
must
said-
have been a lot they reshot.
Yeah, I said, did they green screen this? Because and everyone said, no, they filmed in Hawaii. I said, it's mostly when Peter's standing by the beach.
Oh, yeah,
Was
the
a
beach
lot-
shots were the worst.
Yeah, those are really, really bad.
And that one scene where Jonah Hill awkwardly comes in and tries to give him his tape again, give Aldous Snow the tape on the terrace.
Oh,
that was one of the worst. It looked so bad.
Yeah,
The sun-
I noticed that one.
Sarah and Peter talking outside of her hotel room
Mhm.
looked atrocious as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so watching in, I don't even know if it was 4K. We watched it on Movies Anywhere,
Mhm.
so it must have been just a normal HD one since I had the digital code 12 years ago. So it couldn't have been 4K, but it did not look good.
Yeah, I definitely didn't watch it in 4K, and I caught some of them.
The cameos
I'm
in the
glad
movie.
someone else saw it. I thought I was losing my mind a little bit.
Yeah, it's a classic. The cameos in the movie are... I didn't remember how many awesome people just pop up in that film.
Yeah,
So many.
There's a lot of really small supporting characters that the bartender that names all the fish. That guy's one of my
Mhm.
favorite characters. Talking about puppets, Snuffleupagus fucks my shit up. Yeah, and then we had talked about this all last episode, but I only know him as Glenn from Talladega Nights. With the
Yeah,
little
Jack
guy that goes
McBrayer.
there. Yeah, he's hilarious. We're all cracking up all his lines.
Yeah, Doug, you got to watch it over the next week, and we'll talk about it for the third week in a row. And Jason Segel will give us our check for endorsing him 3 weeks straight.
Yeah,
I mean,
good.
I own the
He was
movie.
late in the last couple weeks.
Oh, there you go. You own the movie.
Yeah, so
There you
I
go.
have it on Blu-ray. I think I have a poster of it somewhere. Like I was so into.
I had that
I
show
was
on
all
DVD,
in.
now that I think of it. It wasn't even Blu-ray.
Maybe it's DVD, and I'm just upping it in my mind. But yeah, I was all in on Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I mean, when that movie came out, so I'm sure I'll love it again. But yeah, I'll watch it just to keep the streak going.
There you go. As for something we all watched, it was episode 2 of HBO's Lovecraft Country. So I caught up after you guys all talked about episode 1 last week. So quick thoughts on episode 2.
two
And
thumbs
I
up.
Can talk about 1 and 2 after you guys are done.
There's two things that nag me about this show. One, the music choices are awful. Absolutely awful. It takes me out of a lot of scenes.
Because they're more modern songs.
Yeah, because they're more modern songs, and some of them just don't really play with the scene. And it's
I
a
love that
minor play.
Jefferson theme song opening though.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
Oh my god, that was probably like the biggest highlight for me for that second episode. Was the moving on up and like the dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on up was just like so enjoyable to watch.
That was great. The one towards the end of the episode where he was doing things with cult people. I thought that was just it didn't match anything in that scene. And then they played Marilyn Manson at the end of it. I was just like, what did they do? That, and then I just feel like we watched the season finale again. I just feel like we keep watching season finales.
They did so much in 1 week.
It's not a slow burn. I feel like they're rushing it. I don't know what the source material is, but apparently it's a 4,000-page book because we're just burning through it right now.
I think they're trying to keep it, as like hidden and, kind of like in the dark as much as possible. I mean, I liked that episode for that exact reason. I felt like I had no idea where it was going. When I thought I knew, it completely subverted my expectations in a lot of ways.
Why are they keeping it in the dark?
Well,
like everything's out in the open.
I mean, they explained why they were there and why Atticus, is that his name, the main character? Yeah. Why he was being, pulled to the house and to that town, I guess. But they didn't really explain a lot. They didn't explain, why things were going on, why things were happening, and then all of a sudden, what happens at the end, and it's like, okay, where are we going next? And I just thought that was cool because it continues, the unknown.
Yeah,
You go.
Yeah, I think JP and I probably have similar issues with this episode. I think I remember talking last episode about how we were hoping that it was going to really build on the mythos and kind of world build a bit, and instead I felt like what we were excited for in the first episode of this world that they were going to continue to build on and kind of flesh out. They were just like, and that's the end of that story. At the conclusion of the second episode, it felt very rushed, and it felt very much like this chapter's closed. On to the next thing, and I kind of wanted to see them flesh out what exactly is going on with this.
But we're not even
cult,
completely.
What exactly is going on with this house?
We're not even complete
cult cliff notes, and then they destroy that whole storyline, and you sit there and well, what the fuck are they going to do next? They can't do anything else next with this.
But
I think
they took out one of the major players in the show.
Yeah, he's my favorite character.
Yeah, he was great. He had the best dance in the.
Spoiler alerts. We haven't said what character. Well, now we kind of gave it away. But
do we know? We don't really know for a fact that everything that happened in the last 10 minutes of that episode is going to be reversed or something else. I mean,
they revived Letitia fucking Lewis in 5 minutes, so he has anything.
I would not be surprised.
Do the same with his uncle, more than likely, because I guess now he's all supercharged and shit.
Yeah,
but it's just I feel like they're just
yeah, I'm so happy
through it like that.
Michael Kenneth Williams is now on the show. I know they showed his photos in the first episode, but such a great actor.
Yeah.
What's funny is I was like, where do I know this guy from? And because I couldn't get into The Wire enough to know him from that. There was a lot of shows he's been in and I was like, when I finally pulled up the IMDb, I was like, Community.
Yep. Season 3.
That's where I know him from. Here's the teacher. So I felt kind of I probably should know him from The Wire, but
you should know him as Omar Little. But yes, he was on Community as well.
So yeah, he did a good job for what I saw of him. But yeah, I just felt from what I started trying to read about what this book was about, that this all is based on, and it seems like it's more short stories, and so I'm wondering if each episode is just going to be its own kind of contained short story type thing. This next episode seems very I don't know, did anyone watch the previews? I don't want to give it away.
No, I didn't.
I didn't watch the previews.
Okay. Well, it seems like it's completely unrelated to what we've watched so far.
Oh man, that's not bad. I was honestly considering picking up the book. So I wanted to get an idea of what this is all about. But
Yeah, my thoughts were, since I watched both episodes over this past week, I loved the series premiere. I thought it was fantastic. I wasn't really a big fan of episode 2. I think everything that they did throughout that episode could have been at least 2 episodes.
yes.
It just felt like it was going way too fast. I was just like, what the fuck's happening? But obviously, I'm going to keep watching. Hope that one's an anomaly as far as my tastes and how it was. It did continue to have things that I liked, namely performances from the original trio from the premiere.
The blonde people are
They're
daughter
interesting.
and the other guy. I think they put in really great performances. It's really interesting. It's just so annoying because, like you said, they could have done 2 or 3 episodes in that house alone. That house alone could have been an episode.
And they killed off the dad so quickly, and that's like a legit actor, Tony Goldwyn. I think JP, you watched Scandal. I know he was on that show.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately, but
He
I
was-
forgot most of it because
it was Scandal. He was also the voice of Tarzan. So I was expecting him to be like on the show for a long time, and then he just turns to stone and shit. Like
Maybe he
within
still will be.
20 minutes of being on the show.
Yeah, I like the whole cult thing. I wish they could have gone more into the background of that. I don't know, man. I mean, I guess they got to be planning something, right? But yeah, episode 2 I felt like I had missed all of the episodes in the middle, and I had just watched the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can't
Well,
wait
even
for
like
season
things that happen within the episode just kind of felt like they happened too fast. Like characters forgot
Oh, like when they
that
go to
something
the
had
town,
happened.
and then they're walking back, and it's instantly night, and they're just randomly in the forest.
That there's also like the whole part. There's like the whole plot line where they like certain characters forget what had happened in the first episode with their encounter with, and then that's like immediately resolved. And
yeah,
it's
they just
like,
snap it on and off. That was a cool little thread there.
But, yeah, it's like, why not let that breathe a little bit, see that play out before you like undo it all? But I don't know. I really think it's just like it's going to be these short stories where they're in a new situation from episode to episode, and so we just have to kind of expect that, I guess. Because I think I really expected this house thing or this cult to really like be a season long storyline, and
It could have been.
so it just kind of caught me off guard that it was just
Is
immediately resolved.
this considered a HBO limited series, or is this something that's going to come back at this point?
Nope, it was advertised as just a normal drama series.
Okay.
So
So expectations are it would be back. I know its ratings were similar. They weren't as high as Percy
Percy Raven.
I was gonna say Percy ratings. Like, what the fuck? Perry Mason. The ratings were not as good as Perry Mason, the series premiere of that, but I think they were comparable to Watchmen.
Oh, okay.
And HBO was definitely very happy with Watchmen's ratings.
Mm-hmm.
Although Watchmen was also something not advertised as a miniseries or limited series, and then after it finished, they retconned that, and now it's a limited series.
Yeah.
I could see them doing the short story thing if the uncle was still alive and they were going to do stuff for that book and just keep running into weird supernatural shit. But I mean, the whole motivation to travel is gone with him. I'm sure they'll bring him back because he seems like a pretty main character, especially with the little bit of cliffhanger they put at the end where he may or may not be his father.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess I'm interested to see how they do it, but if it's just going to be they keep getting into paranormal shit for no reason, it might lose me somewhere along the way. because I can't take like 2-episode bursts of. I want more of a slow burn.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like this next episode's completely unrelated to what we just saw.
All right, we'll talk about episode 3 probably next week, as long as we all catch up to it by the time we record. At the end of the season, we'll definitely do a deep dive at the very least. But let's move on to our feature presentation, and that is The Batman. So, pretty fucking exciting stuff.
Yeah.
We got a lot out of FanDome when it came to The Batman. In advance of it, we got the logo and some really kick-ass artwork by Jim Lee. And then at the show itself, we had director Matt Reeves talking for about 25 minutes about the film, about its relation to the GCPD show that is going to be coming out. And then we also got, in addition to some photos earlier in the day, we got the fucking trailer. Who would have thought? This far out in advance. This is as far as any trailer I can think of outside of Force Awakens. That was I think 13 months in advance. This was even longer than the Force Awakens. So this is the farthest out I can remember a trailer coming out for a film based on its release date at that point.
It shows how confident WB is with this film. Even, I mean, 25% of it's filmed, and they dropped a bomb like this. It's pretty. I wasn't expecting it. I don't think any of us were.
Is 2021 realistic, assuming that they've only filmed 25% at this point?
I would think so. I don't think if they film 25% that quickly, I don't think it would be a problem.
And I don't know how much it seems.
The release date's October 1st, 2021. For those listening.
It seems like they're going a lot of practical effects from what we saw. I mean, we don't know, I guess, but Batman's not like a really special effects CG type of series to begin with, and this looks like it's going to be more of a gritty, practical David Fincher movie type of film. So I don't think we have to worry about too much crazy post-production or anything like that. I think they should be able to cut it fairly quickly when it's all said and done. Assume they'll probably have the movie done by the end of the year, right? Just principal photography.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, one would hope so.
As long as things are okay overseas where they're filming, shouldn't have too much of a problem. Aren't they doing a lot on sets?
Yeah, I think they're bringing a lot of it into sound stages and doing sets now, which is cool. They've definitely, from at least a little that they filmed, I hope they get to go back to, I think it's Scotland where they're filming at for the exterior shots. It seems like they're.
I think a lot's in. I think it's in England.
Yeah, but I think specifically the exterior shots are in Glasgow. I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that's where.
Yeah, Glasgow Cathedral Cemetery. That's where they were filming before this all went down. I think they're using downtown Glasgow as a lot of the Gothic architecture for Gotham, and then they said that I think they're going to build up skyscrapers with CG and the like to give it more of a modern feel to it with a little bit of Gothic architecture inside of it. They look like they've done a fantastic job so far.
It'll definitely have its own unique look, just like every other Batman film that's come out thus far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when they have the same directors per film, Gotham still looks different every single time.
Yeah, it changes every time. I mean, it just became. So, what was it in Batman Begins? It was Chicago, Pittsburgh.
Batman Begins, they filmed, I believe, in England, and then Dark Knight in Chicago, and Dark Knight Rises in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so that changed a whole bunch. That just looked like a contemporary city for the most part.
Yeah, outside, like, the Narrows was the only, like, kind of strange thing in that trilogy.
Yeah. I wish we had gotten.
There was a lot of, like, set, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Narrows look beautiful in the Begins. But, I mean, Tim Burton's was...
It was very unique both times.
Yeah. And then the other two movies just became Neon Nightmare.
Yeah. Even you can't say they weren't unique though.
No, for sure they were very unique.
But yeah, what we learned out of FanDome regarding the film, we know that it is taking place in the second year of Batman's career. That the GCPD show will tie in and actually be a prequel. It'll take place during year one and follow the police force as the corrupt police force as things are getting crazy and people are starting at these sites of Batman. We know Riddler is the main villain of the film. Everyone already knew in advance that Paul Dano's playing him. We got our first glimpses of Zoe Kravitz, very much looking just like a cat burglar as Catwoman, and Colin Farrell as Oswald Cobblepot, who, frankly, I've been looking at photos and everything, and I still don't see him in there. So
it's the eyes. Cool. The eyes, you can tell.
Yeah, I can see a little bit, but man,
yeah.
whoever does the makeup for this movie is going to win an Academy Award.
Yeah, apparently he gained some weight, and then there was a lot of makeup involved. But he's not yet the gangster that everyone will eventually know him to become. He does not like being called the Penguin at this point in time in the series. Other than that, what else we get? I mean, we got to look at the Batmobile. We got Robert Pattinson, his first line reading as the Batman, and it's fucking fantastic.
Yes.
Andy Serkis, we got a little bit of Alfred as Andy Serkis as Alfred, which sounds awesome.
Yeah, we got some footage of Jeffrey Wright as Gordon.
Yep. He's got a voiceover as well. It sounds like Jeffrey Wright. It sounds great.
I know. You didn't see John Turturro at all, right?
No,
I don't think so. He might be hidden somewhere in there, but
he's playing Carmine Falcone.
Mm-hmm.
Then they announced today that one of the guys from Dunkirk, the kid. Everyone saw Dunkirk. You should, if you haven't yet. Spoiler alert! But the kid who falls from the one level of the boat to the other and fucks up his head and dies. He's going to be playing Stanley Merkel. They announced that today. So he was Gordon's partner at one point in time in the Batman story. Flash. Yeah, he has got too many kids to feed.
I would have liked to see a Harvey Bullock. I know they did that on Gotham, but I like Harvey Bullock.
Yeah. One call out I have is Paul Dano's voice is like horrifying, especially now that I've listened to the trailer or watched the trailer multiple times. My God,
Isn't it very like modified?
It sounded a little modified.
Regardless, it's like chilling, and that's a version of the Riddler that we've never gotten in a film, but I'm just super excited for that.
And boy, does this film look dark.
Yeah,
I am a believer that this will be the first R-rated Batman movie.
Yeah,
you think?
Yeah.
You think Warner Brothers is gonna have the balls to do that? I guess.
I don't see why not. Joker made $1.7 billion and didn't even play in China. Dark Knight Rises made the exact same amount and did.
Yeah.
Joker was a very depressing R-rated film.
People love Batman.
Batman's an adult character. Obviously they have the versions that are for kids, that are targeted to kids, but the ones that resonate the most in comics to audiences tend to be the ones that are dark, whether it's Frank Miller or some of the other famous writers. I'm trying to think of the dude who did Alan Moore with Killing Joke. Those guys put out the most famous ones of the past, or the most important ones, I would say, of the past 40 years.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
I just think it's a little more difficult to, I guess, go see a Batman movie and tell your kids they can't come than to go see a Joker movie and tell your kids they can't come. I'd be all for it, though. I think a rated R Batman movie would be great, or at the very least, a Tim Burton-esque PG-13 biting someone's nose off.
That's the thing. I think they get more shit. Warner Brothers deals with more problems, if they put out that type of PG-13 rated movie, and audience and parents freak the fuck out because they're like, I wasn't expecting this.
If they try to walk the line as close as possible. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it could go either way. I mean, if it's PG-13, it's going to be as close to rated R as can be, or it's going to stand out, and it can lower expectations for all box office analysts. It doesn't have to live up to the dollars of the Nolan movies because it's rated R.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a win for Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
One thing that I mean, we only saw like a couple shots, but after Matt Reeves was talking about the Batmobile and how it's literally like Bruce Wayne puts it together by hand and this and that, the couple glimpses that we saw of it looked really cool. It had almost looked like a billowing like flame in under the hood, which I thought was really nifty. And of course it had the back, the whatever that's called, the jet engine type of thing that we usually have with Batmobiles. But I thought that was really cool. It was super unique.
Yeah, it looked like one of those drag racers from Raceway Park where they got the headers popping out and the fires popping out of the hood. It looks cool. I definitely hope when they do a second one, all his tech gets a little more streamlined, because I feel like we've never really, outside of maybe I guess Keaton, never really had that polished, beautiful looking Batmobile, and all the polished, good looking gadgets on screen.
Yeah,
at least in a good Batman movie.
We're getting a Bat Cycle too, right?
Yeah, so there's you can even see it in the trailer, and they were set photos of it. It's basically the same bike that he rides when he's Bruce Wayne, but it legitimately has a bat head on the front of it. It's a little goofy looking, but I mean, based on what they've shown us, they can do whatever they want. I don't really care anymore. There's no judgment. I was pretty high on this movie to begin with, and from everything I saw, I honestly feel like right now they can really do no wrong.
That actually reminds me of one of the more recent Batman origin stories that they did over the past couple years. He had a motorcycle like that where he had a legit symbol. It was almost like a dirt bike, and he had a bat symbol on the front and the handlebars.
Yeah, I forget which one that is, but I know what you're talking about, and they've said that is part of the inspiration for this movie. I forget which one it is. It's the one where Batman has a sleeveless sleeveless uniform or suit. It's kind of goofy. But I think they said that the Riddler was going to be pretty similar to that one as well.
That's good.
I really like the Riddler outfit. I like that it wasn't the cheesy question mark green with the bowler hat. I like that it felt very realistic. I love this shot where it's Pattinson's Batman just beating the shit out of what looks like a Joker goon. I don't know the Joker's around yet, but
Penguin goon, right?
That's what they were saying, is that it looks like some of the old Penguin goons from the comics. They might just be their own thing.
It's weird that they're
they might just be like those neon guys in Batman Forever.
Turkish bath. They're bringing them back.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is it looked like clown makeup to me, and maybe that's not. They have nothing to do with the Joker, but
I thought that too.
It reminded me of the Joker. It felt like clown makeup, but I loved watching him. I think as Reeves described him as just being an angry individual in this movie, and that he's just gonna let out that anger when he just beats the shit out of whatever goon that is. I mean, you can just kind of see the anger, and I love just felt like a release, especially once the guy's on the ground and he's still throwing in the extra punches.
Yeah, it was brutal. And the one thing everyone was saying is they don't cut when with the punches, so it's just one continuous beatdown on film. There are no cuts there. It's beautiful. And that guy's definitely
Yeah.
or dead. But
Well, I
Yeah,
heard this
I
Batman
love that
actually doesn't kill people. That was something that I read.
oh, that's good.
That he'll be like the first that doesn't either clearly just kill someone like Michael Keaton and Affleck, or make very loose excuses like Christian Bale.
Yeah.
I don't have to save you.
Or
It's the same thing, motherfucker.
He drives underneath the dump truck, and crushes the guy up against the ceiling of the bridge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that guy's not getting out. Yeah, it's to me those goons seem more like skulls than anything else, because I think it's really because of the black and the white. That's gonna be neat because I've seen other filming scenes where they're in, so they seem to be a little bit of a player in it. And even in that scene particularly, how much you want to bet we get? I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. Because I'll start screaming if we get the old animated series line.
That would be cool.
I would love.
It's definitely possible.
They nailed it though. That was the line. Everyone's expecting Batman. You get vengeance, and it's just kiss.
Man, is his Batman voice fucking awesome?
It's pretty cool.
I really like it. From what we heard.
I wouldn't say it's Keaton level, but it's definitely better than Bale.
I got a little Bale at the end of it when he's talking to the Riddler. And he's just like, I forget what he said. I should know because I've seen this trailer about 8 million times. How am I worthless? He got a little Christian Bale there, but
I would
vengeance line was perfect.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall with that meeting, conversation that he had with Christian Bale apparently before they started filming. What they talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so interesting that he was filming Tenet at the same time that he got cast. I would love to be a fly on the wall for those conversations.
Oh yeah, when Nolan finally found out.
He lied to Christopher Nolan about the.
Yeah.
He tried to lie to Christopher Nolan about the
about
casting
the
call.
interview.
Yeah, he said that he was he had a family that was sick. And Nolan's just like, "No, you're going to Batman, aren't you?" Son of a bitch.
He walks into his hotel room and he's just sitting there, Nolan.
What that trailer really got me excited for is hearing Michael Giacchino's score, because just from what he did with Nirvana's "Something in the Way" for that trailer, it's like this could be really special.
It's haunting. What he did with that song. That's my favorite part of the entire thing, and that's saying something because it's a fantastic trailer.
And like when I think of Michael Giacchino, I don't think of dark movies at all. I think of Lost, superhero movies, Pixar movies, and Star Trek movies. Basically anything J.J. Abrams does.
Yeah.
So to get that, it was like, wow, I really want to hear the full Batman theme that he comes up with.
Yeah, even the little sneak peek we got for the costume reveal was great, and it was. I listened to it again today. It's 4 notes, so that's something.
Mm-hmm.
You can do 4 notes, and you can get a little bit of a feel from that. Can't wait to hear it.
So obviously on Saturday, this was what we were all waiting for, was the Batman panel. Obviously DC knew that because it was their closing segment. It was basically break the internet, that type of thing. I think all 4 of us, and I'm not going to pretend we're the only 4 Batman fans in the world. It is obviously had a massive impact on so many different generations. But I don't know, I thought we can give the audience listening a little bit of an idea of our history, relationship with the character, why it's been so important to us, and why we are absolutely gonna be there at the first showing, October. I guess it'd be September 30th, 2021. JP, you want to start?
Yeah, so we're talking about. I mean, I grew up in a household. My brother is 8 years older than me, so even as a small kid, I came into a house filled with Batman comics. My brother would go to the comic book store every week to get Batman comics, and I sort of snuck a lot of his and read them. And then my first recollection of seeing Batman on screen is Batman '89. I used to watch that at home a whole bunch because I remember going to see Batman Returns in theaters at the ripe old age of, what did it come out, 91, 92?
92. So you were
I
6.
was 5. Yeah, 6.
Or
I was
5. Yeah, no, you were only 5.
Yep, I was 5 years old, just chilling in that movie, watching a man get his nose bit off, and we got the Batman Returns poster from going to see it at the local movie theater, and
You had that in your basement for a long time.
very long time. I think that fell apart before it actually came down. So those live with me forever, and then I remember seeing Batman Begins with you guys. But we see it twice within the first 24 hours of it being open.
We were at that midnight opening, and then saw it. I think we saw it as a group again that Friday, but we had seen it with our girlfriends and other people in between that. It came out on I guess a Tuesday night for the midnight opening, and by Friday we had already seen it at least 1 or 2 other times.
Yeah. Set all sorts of personal records for seeing the movie in theater with that one. And then The Dark Knight came out, and all those
Broke those records.
Yeah, and then we did
broke them again with Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, and then we did the 3 movie event for Dark Knight Rises, and we saw all 3 Christopher Nolan Batman movies back to back to back.
That was a blast.
That was amazing. That was definitely a great experience, even though Dark Knight Rises is a piece of trash. But yeah, I mean, Batman has been such a driving factor for me loving movies, and I go absolutely batshit insane. No pun intended, but it's there every single time a Batman trailer comes out. I haven't stopped watching it. I've watched it on every TV in my house. I've watched it on my computer screen. I've watched it on my phone. I've turned brightness all the way up. I've paused it almost every second I could possibly pause at to take a look and see what it's all there. And I'm incredibly excited. I don't remember being this excited for a Batman trailer since I endlessly watched the Dark Knight trailer.
Yeah, I remember that one, like being on forums, and then it just that Thursday night, and then just leaked
Batman on film
footage of it, and just watching it over and over and over again. Not closing my YouTube because I knew once I did, it would get taken down.
So
it was just permanently open.
Yeah. Oh shit! I remember too. I had that YouTube page open for 3 days.
Yeah, until the official release online that following Monday.
Oh man, yeah. So I couldn't be more excited right now. Honestly, this is the one movie that is above all the others that I cannot wait to see. Just 'cause I love seeing a new version of Batman every single time it gets put on film on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
It will never get old to me. I don't care if it's the worst stinking pile of crap movie. I'll still be there, and I'll be watching and see what they do with Batman.
All right, Doug, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm probably a bit different than JP. I think I got involved. The 89 movies I enjoyed, but I think what really kind of hooked me into Batman was the animated series. Something about the animated series, it was just so well done. I love the Gotham that they created. I love the the modern but also old school feel of architecture. That's probably one of my favorite versions of Gotham. It just feels gritty, it feels dark, it feels like it exists out of time, where some things feel really old but other things feel modern. I just love the way that they mix those two together. Kevin Conroy just dials it in as Batman. Just does a great voice of both Bruce Wayne and Batman, and then you got the great Mark Hamill as the Joker, and it was just such a great. I think I probably took for granted at the time.
Very different for an animated show back in the early '90s. It was very adult.
It was.
But not in a TVMA type of cursing adult type of thing. But it was just an adult show aimed at children.
And
Or
it
not
was
even
done
aimed at
so
children.
well.
It just happened to be on, like, during a children's block on WB. But
And it was just
anyone
it
could
was
watch
just- it was just done so well. The animation I thought was fantastic. Like right now, like I try to watch like Warner Brothers Batman animation, and like they've shipped it. It feels very like anime, but there was something about that animation that they did for like the animated series. I just loved. The voice acting was great. The stories were fun, and the music, even like the theme music, I really enjoyed.
I owned that soundtrack on vinyl for a little while, the one that Mondo put out.
Oh wow!
Fantastic! It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think I like looking back on it. Like, of course, I loved it because it was just like they had so many good things going for it. And then from there, like, of course, Batman Begins, Dark Knight were all great movies. I was funny enough. I was walking the dogs today, knowing we were going to do this podcast talking about Batman, and we look up and there's like bats flying around. And I was like, "This is so perfect for the Batman podcast." I kind of feel like Christian Bale, and the bats are circling him in the Batcave. But yeah, I mean, it's just like I think the animated series is what hooked me more. I go back and I watch the '89, but I don't think I like quite love it as much as you guys do. I think the animated series is probably my favorite version of Batman. And I love the Christopher Nolan stuff too. I think probably '89 is like, and the Keaton stuff is probably like my third favorite version. But I love the character. I think after that is when I got into the comics more. After I would say like in between animated series and Batman Begins is when I started reading the comics and got into that. So kind of a late bloomer on the comics, but man, there's some pretty awesome comics as you dive in. So I'm glad I finally got to appreciate those. But yeah, I need to go back and watch the animated series. No, I'm talking about it. It's so good.
All right, Corey, what about yourself?
I mean, for me, it's actually more of a combination of what Doug and JP said. Animated series definitely had a major effect. But my older brother, who's same as JP, like eight years older than me, he introduced me to Batman '89, and that definitely started the obsession with the character. And I watched that movie over and over again. I didn't really watch Batman or Batman Returns as much. I definitely watched it as a kid, but I don't remember watching it as much as '89. That one just resonated with me so much more. It's only as an adult that I've really started to appreciate that movie a lot more. But definitely that and the animated series were like huge for me, and I really liked Batman Forever. And as a film, like that movie I liked as a kid, and I'm pretty sure all of us liked it as a kid. Don't deny it.
Yeah, no, I did. I knew it was lesser than, but
yeah, absolutely.
I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And then as I got older, as I got into high school, that's when I started to explore a lot of the comics. Well, maybe like middle school. My cousin read a lot of them, so I kind of got the cliff notes of ones to read, and I kind of went down that rabbit hole a little bit, and have been reading the comics ever since, little by little. Probably not as much now as I used to, but yeah, I mean, he's just such an interesting character. I mean, I know JP touched upon this too. Like he's a tragic character that is very layered and very interesting to kind of explore the different mediums that he exists in, comics and movies and television shows. He's been done so many different ways, and I think as we've grown up, we've kind of clinged on to different versions, here and there. And that's really, that's kind of how I was introduced to him. So.
Awesome. As for myself, similar to JP, I got into it with Batman 89, probably when I was about 5 years old. I have on video getting the Batman 89 on VHS and just going ape shit over the fact that I was like a 5-year-old and the movie was rated PG-13. So I'd say that was probably like one of the first 5 movies I like fell in love with, after like Disney movies and some Spielberg movies. But I remember in kindergarten JP coming over and us watching Batman. I remember going to his house. He had the Batman Returns poster. I didn't see Batman Returns in theaters. I don't recall why. I do have memories of seeing the poster at like Coconuts. I don't know if it was probably when it was just coming on VHS. But the first time I watched it, I watched like the first half at Kyle's house, and then right after, because I had to go home, and then immediately like made my dad take us to Blockbuster to rent it, so got to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the animated series, not like in a crazy amount, but the funny thing is the first one I ever saw in theaters was Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Yep.
So that movie didn't even make $6 million, but I saw it in theaters. Saw the 1966 version with Adam West. Had that on tape. Watched that a lot. I mean, by the time I saw Batman Forever, I was used to like 4 different versions of Batman just in like a 4-year period. Corey, we saw Batman Forever together in theaters. I had all the Batman Returns action figures. I mean, the dude wore one costume in the entire movie, but I need to have like 20 different variations of the Batsuit.
And you had the
any
Bat
type
Cave.
of. Oh yeah, I had the
Son of a
Batcave.
bitch.
I think I had
Batcave
one.
Command Center.
I think I had one version of the Batcave too. I don't remember which one I had.
Good. Well, I don't know if I ever told you guys this story. My parents talk about it all the time. I guess it was Christmas in 1992, and it was Christmas. It was the night before Christmas Eve or the morning of Christmas Eve, and I talked about how I couldn't wait for Santa to put like my Batcave like in this certain spot, like telling them I made room for it by the tree, and then my parents look at each other like we didn't buy him this thing.
Oh no!
And they fucking jingled all the way and spent like the entire day and actually got me it. Like it was sold out at so many stores, and I guess there was a small store in Franklin Lakes that actually like had it.
Wow.
They're like, if we didn't get it, we would have scarred your childhood for life. So super happy I got it. But yeah, since then, love the Nolan movies. Obviously, JP, you and I saw the trilogy together in theaters. Doug and Corey, we saw the re-release of the trilogy in
IMAX.
New York last year in IMAX. I mean, Doug, you fucking flew up from Florida to just for that, just to see the trilogy in IMAX.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fantastic time. JP and Corey, we saw the re-releases of Batman and Batman Returns last year as well when they were in theaters for like Fathom events. So, I mean, those are like my 2 iterations that I love. I think the Dark Knight trilogy is easily one of my favorite trilogies of all time, like if not my favorite trilogy. And those first 2 Batman movies were just such an important part of me becoming a fan of film and the character. Obviously, like you guys were talking about the comics and stuff, I had the like seminal graphic novels like Batman Year One, Dark Knight Returns, Long Halloween, all those ones. Definitely not as big a comic reader as like Corey and JP you are. I know Corey and Doug also play the Arkham games, but played that whole trilogy. The only thing I never really got into with Batman was the Zack Snyder films. I think I was, at that point in time, it just felt like it was so soon after the Nolan movies, so I didn't give it a fair shake. Like, didn't get like hyped up for it like you did, JP.
Oh, Affleck.
But by the time it came out, I was ready to give it a warm reception. It just didn't work out for me. But this new version, the hype is back. I don't think I've watched a trailer so much in its first couple days online than like you said, probably The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my history with the character. It's just there's just something about his whole story about the tragic situation with his parents and how he decides to do something with that, no matter how fucking crazy his idea is. I mean, let's be real, dressing up as a bat and getting vengeance on people is not a normal thing. You know, Kick-Ass did a good job of kind of deconstructing that, but it just works as a comic book character and as a film character. There's a reason why it's been done so many times already and will be done so many more times while we're still on this earth and long after we're off it.
I mean, you're the only one that brought up the 60s Batman, and I completely forgot about that. That was my dad's favorite TV show growing up when he was a kid. He'd always make us watch it, and it was just really silly growing up with Michael Keaton Batman and watching the old Adam West Batmans, because Adam West Batmans are, they're so weird and just so out there, but so much fun to watch. And I was Adam West Batman for Halloween a couple years ago. I have the cowl sitting in my bedroom, you know, where it belongs.
But yeah, as far as the films thus far, the various iterations, what do you guys think that the ones that we liked got right, or the ones that we did not like as much got wrong with the character? And what are we looking for differently from the new Batman from My Chemical Romance and Gerard Way?
I wouldn't watch it if that was the case.
I think the one thing that I think has been, I mean, obviously with Nolan, like, he nailed it with Gotham City, but I think in the past, the one thing that is definitely something that has been wrong more times than right is Gotham City. I mean, Gotham City is a character in itself, and I think other than I don't even want to say, you know, Tim Burton's was cohesive and, you know, fantastic from the get-go. I mean, both were very different and good on their own rights, but then you had, you know, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, which were horrible. And even Zack Snyder's version, I didn't really care for either. So I think it's been very much a hit and a miss. And it seems like Matt Reeves, you know, is off to a good start from what we've seen with Gotham. So I think that's definitely something that they've gotten wrong more than right over the years.
So I'm going to go against you there for a second, because I think Nolan's Gotham City is objectively the worst one of all of the Gotham Cities. Even the crappy Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Because Nolan's Gotham City...
Which one?
Yeah, which one?
Yeah, exactly. But it's just a city. It's just...
It's just Chicago. It's just
you could legitimately put it anywhere in the country, and
yeah,
and they have. And at least Burton's was its own character of its own, because you got these weird, sunken-eyed
statues.
Yeah, and sunken-eyed people walking around that were all like weird Transylvanian type Gotham people. And it's even Joel Schumacher does everything wrong, but his Gotham has its own sort of life to it. It's like this city that shouldn't exist, but it happens to, and it's real comic booky. And I mean, I watched Dark Knight, and I was like, oh, cool, it's Batman, defender of Chicago.
But I feel like that's...
Dark Knight Rises, Batman, defender of Pittsburgh, fucking Pennsylvania.
I mean, I think that's because Nolan went so far into being grounded as a film and as a universe for Batman, and that's... I mean, I didn't care for the change. I wish he stayed the same in all three films. That was very jarring for me. It still is. That it's like, this is Gotham. Why is Gotham so different again? Why is it different again? 10 years later, or however long between Dark Knight and Rises. But I think that for whatever reason, he just wanted to make it as grounded as possible. Like Batman actually exists, in these real cities.
Yeah, I think that's a detriment to his films, is how grounded he wanted to make them. And it took me out of some of them because of that.
I think my favorite Gotham might be Batman Returns.
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's beautiful looking.
As an adult,
especially because it's Christmas time and it's snow.
Yeah.
And it's just...
Child Corey wouldn't agree with you, but adult Corey definitely does. I really do enjoy that version of Gotham. It's almost horrifying in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's a city that looks exactly how scary it would be to live there, with a bunch of people running around breathing fire with skull masks on. Danny DeVito running around biting noses off.
That's what's so interesting about those first two movies. Like, it doesn't get Batman right in a lot of ways, but it's just Tim Burton putting his stamp on it at the peak of his powers, and it works. Even if it shouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many reasons that it shouldn't work. I mean, no one thought Michael Keaton was going to work prior to it, based on Mr. Mom, Beetlejuice, and everything.
5'9" of Michael Keaton being Batman.
Yeah, and he is arguably the best live-action Batman still.
It's fantastic.
Yep. I agree.
Well, it's funny people talk about Robert Pattinson being like too scrawny, and it's like Michael Keaton was Batman, so
Yeah. He's a tall man, that petite.
Yeah, I mean, that was never something that I never thought that he didn't have the look. I just couldn't. I mean, I've had this conversation with you guys. Like, I just couldn't see it at the time, and I'm happy. And he's a great actor.
And they changed. I mean, they changed up the origin story for every villain in those movies.
Yeah,
they changed the origin story of Bruce because his parents get killed by the Joker.
Yeah. But it works so well for some reason.
For the story they're telling, it works.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson gives it his all.
I love that they opened Batman '89, the first, I guess, serious live-action Batman movie, and he's already Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And people are already talking about him.
Yeah.
And you don't get this. You get a brief... I guess you get flashbacks to an origin story, but it's not really an origin story.
No.
It's more of an origin story for the Joker than it is for Batman. And it just... Yeah. They did a really good job that no one ever really seemed to pick up. I mean, you just get... Remember we got bogged down with origin stories for years and years and years. And Burton's just like, fuck it, I'm going to do this. And he doesn't even have, like, the licensed Batman logo on the chest. And he just rolls with it. He's like, I'm going to put a couple more frills at the end of this bat. And,
yeah,
good. We'll just avoid all that. And he's wearing Nikes. And I think they got the feel of the story right there. And it was cool because, like you said, I still like the Penguin's origin story from Batman Returns better than any of the other ones that they could possibly do. It just seems so right and creepy for a guy that looks like a penguin to just be ditched by his rich parents and left in the sewer to be raised by weird carnival folk that live down there. Oh, and I just found out that I knew Paul Reubens was his dad, but the woman from Pee-wee's Big Adventure is his mom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I never knew
that.
Yeah, so Tim Burton brings them back from one of his previous movies, and they're both Oswald Cobblepot's parents.
He's very similar to Nolan. He uses the same actors a lot.
He does.
A lot of directors seem to do that.
I mean, if you can work with your buddies, why not, right?
Adam Sandler.
Yeah, you've got people to work well with. I think where Burton succeeded, where Nolan probably fell short, is Burton's world just feels more comic booky. Like, it just feels like it belongs in a comic book, where I think Nolan's vision kind of went too far, as just like it tried to be, as I think you guys mentioned, too grounded. And I heard during the panel at FanDome the word grounded used a lot by Matt Reeves.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping he doesn't mean like Nolan grounded. I hope he means like more like gritty, but I hope he's still not going to be too afraid to go a little comic booky, because at the end of the day, Batman's a comic book character, and I think you need to kind of build a comic book world around him for him to really work.
Yeah, we saw the best iteration, arguably, of Batman in a grounded, realistic world. I feel like it needs to be, grounded, but not like that. It needs to go in a different direction.
So when I heard those words, I got worried as well. But then they gave me serial killer Zodiac Riddler and a Batman that actually looks like he's going to do some detective work. And I said, maybe the next one we'll get Clayface or something like that. I'm okay if we don't get Clayface or a Bane that bulks up to 3 times his size when he uses the Venom to fight him. I'm kind of okay with just Detective Batman doing Detective Batman things and doing that for a little while.
It's the first time they're finally doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's been one of the... Well, they did it a little bit in 89, and
they did a little in The Dark Knight also.
Yeah, but he was particularly bad detective in The Dark Knight.
Or he beats people up in order to get what he wants, the information he wants to know.
Like in 89, he figures out that, you don't just use soap, you use soap and hairspray, and he figures all that out. And it's goofy and cheesy, but he at least had it in there for a little bit. And it was by no means Batman being a detective, but hopefully it's more that in this. And it looks like it's going to be that way. Because even the first shot where you see Gordon walking through, and everyone's looking behind Gordon. So very clearly he's bringing Batman in on this, and they're all just staring at him.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that they're doing... I think this movie will be the first one to really get it right, is they're going to do the tension between the police and Batman. Because the police don't like Batman doing their job. They never have. But you never really get to see it. You see it a little bit in the Nolan movies, but it never really goes to the point where Batman is legitimately pushing cops around in the Batman trailer from Reeves. And that's just really cool to see, because and then little Jim Gordon pushes Batman up against the wall, so clearly Batman respects him enough to let him just tell him to stop.
It would make sense that there's tension because they're corrupt and he's screwing up their entire way of doing things.
Yeah, I mean, even at the end of the day, he's doing their job, so they're not going to like that either.
He's doing their job, and he's probably going to keep them from getting an extra paycheck.
Probably. So it's interesting to see that. I like where that's going. I think they do it a little bit in the animated series, because I know Bullock fucking hates Batman to a degree. And Jim Gordon's just...
Yeah, well, he's... Yeah, because Bullock's like the corrupt cop.
Yeah.
And Batman kind of screws that up for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to see that.
That was kind of the dynamic in the animated series, from what I recall.
Yeah.
What about the Schumacher films? Do you think they got anything right in those? I mean, obviously, Corey, you're the defender of Batman Forever.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many things, but I think Robin. I think Chris O'Donnell's Robin was fantastic, and I still really like how they introduced him and how he worked in the film. And I really like... I don't really like Val Kilmer's Bruce Wayne. I think it's fine, it's okay, but his Batman, I think, is fantastic. I still do. I think he has a great Batman. Yeah, I mean, the fighting, I guess, was okay. I mean, it doesn't really hold up to today's standards. So I would say those two characters and their dynamic. I liked the chemistry between Chris O'Donnell and Val Kilmer. I thought that was really good. Michael Gough as Alfred. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, getting Alfred and Gordon back, that was like the continuity savers for the Schumacher Burton movies. Was definitely nice to have them back, and it was good that they didn't just like completely retcon everything from the first two. I mean, they make references to Catwoman, I believe.
Yeah,
among other things.
And in Forever, the city, I mean, it definitely looks different than Returns, Gotham City, but there are subtle similarities, and you can see that the city, they were trying to go for, the city is the same as the last movie, but it's changed over the years, just like how Batman has changed. So I liked that as well. But yeah, I mean, as that movie went on, obviously it kind of fell off the rails. I mean, the villains weren't done particularly well. But
I mean, Riddler is Cheetah's like Riddler too.
Yeah.
I think about it.
Yeah. So I mean,
It's such a basic villain.
I guess Catwoman is too, but Michelle Pfeiffer just fucking killed it.
yeah.
And made that work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you, Corey. About the problem with Robin was he was too old.
Yeah, he was like a 35-year-old child.
Yeah.
He absolutely should have been. He's not the boy wonder. He's a fucking man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, look at that cod piece. He's definitely a man.
Well, that was because Joel Schumacher was like in love with him, I think.
but they did have good chemistry. I agree with you there. The whole Batman and Robin chemistry.
Nicole Kidman was good. I mean, for what she was.
Yeah, they
I
did
liked...
some interesting attempts at psychoanalysis for why Bruce is the way he is, why he's Batman. And then they just went off the rails with Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Which it just seems like with both Batman Returns and Batman and Robin, they just let Warner Brothers just let the directors just do whatever the fuck they wanted. Just go all out. And then Batman Returns, Tim Burton goes super dark, and Joel Schumacher just goes super, I don't know, light and crazy. Just colorful and ridiculous.
Tim Burton forgets about Batman in Batman Returns.
Yeah, he doesn't. Batman doesn't appear for the first 30 minutes of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Wild.
The number one thing they got right in Batman Returns was casting Christopher Walken's son. His dad, no. He's one of the greatest things I've ever heard in my life. He does it so well.
Yeah, he does.
Christopher Walken, what a great third villain for that film.
Yeah. And he meets a horrible end at the end of that. Getting kissed with the taser.
Mm-hmm.
So, one question I have for you guys is, what is your favorite Batsuit?
Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Batman Returns is really good.
Batman Returns has my favorite Batmobile, Gotham, and Batsuit. Now that I think about it.
89 is still my favorite.
Definitely Batman Returns. Batman Begins, I think, is my favorite. Because he just... Well... No, we got Batfleck. I think Batfleck's my favorite suit. It just jumps off the comic. And it's
a nice suit.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
I like the stubby ears. I'm a big fan of stubby ears. Yeah, I forgot about Batfleck. Not the Justice League Batfleck though. That shit sucks.
How about you? What about you, Doug? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, I might have to go with JP with Batfleck.
It's a great
definitely
suit.
not Batman Returns. I would
You
go
don't like the
Nolan
Batman
movies
Returns
over.
suit, dude? It's
I'd go
clean.
Nolan movies over Batman Returns.
Yeah, I hate the Dark Knight suit.
I warmed up
More-
to the
Yeah, I was thinking more Begins.
I've never warmed up to that suit in my life. I can't get over
With
it.
the panels?
It's horrible. It's the head. It's the head and the neck. It's awful.
Mm.
I also love the Batpod. I
Batpod's
wasn't
cool.
a fan of the Tumbler. I just thought that was a weak Batmobile.
It's
But
horrible, that one.
the Batpod I like a lot.
What about the
Dude,
Bat?
plane though.
The Bat I did. Yeah, the Bat I didn't like.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
For the
That was my
plane.
least favorite.
89 though. The
Oh,
Bat
yeah.
plane.
Oh, that plane's cool.
So
Yeah.
iconic. So iconic.
What about the Bat Copter in '66?
Oh, I mean, it's
When
amazing.
you get sharks hanging from your helicopter and you gotta shoot shark repellent on it.
It's always in the belt, man. Got to be prepared for anything. Yeah, they've done a really bad job with Batmobiles from Batman Forever up to now because they got increasingly stupider looking in the Schumacher movies. Batman Begins, the Tumbler was awful. I was really hoping at the end of Batman Begins he'd roll up in an actually decent car,
Mm-hmm.
and that would have been great.
Thought we were gonna get that by the third movie.
You would have hoped so, except for he quit being Batman for like half a century between Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. And then even the Snyder Batmobile was just generic crap.
The Forever
This one
Batmobile
looks-
is pretty good. I like that one.
Too many fins.
And then you had like the kaleidoscope that was the Batman and Robin one. fucking
I
light
personally
show.
like the animated series Batmobile.
Oh
Wow.
yeah.
Ooh, I had that action figure. Well, not an action figure, but I had that
That's
Batmobile toy.
Good call, Doug.
That's a good one.
That's a great one. I still think the Burton one is just honestly perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Animated series is great. It's so stylized and beautiful, but just the fact that that was also a real car, it made it a real car. It was legitimately drove around. It's awesome. It was so cool.
And then going into the Nolan villains, or the Nolan films, I think what they did best was the villains. Overall, I thought that was the best group of villains from all of the various ones, along with telling Bruce's story better than any other one.
Yeah.
Because they do start to finish. Like JP said, it's pretty corny, though, that he's only Batman for, like, I think we did the math, and it was
17 minutes.
it was like a year total, something ridiculous. But the fact that you get his whole origin, that was the first time we really got his origin on film, along with seeing everything that comes with an origin story, how he builds the suit, the Tumbler, Batmobile, etc., the Batcave, and then going all the way to his retirement. Like we got a full story out of that, even if the retirement did seem to come a little quick.
Yeah, they definitely did a good start to finish. The villains are great. They did justice to a lot of my favorite villains, and then injustice to some of my favorite villains. So they picked all the right ones for me, pretty much. I'm a huge Scarecrow fan. I love Bane and Joker, probably my top three, unless Mr. Freeze jumps in and out, because I love Mr. Freeze. It's such a good story, and they nailed Scarecrow to a T. Great character design. The Joker, obviously fantastic, and Bane was a garbage can wandering around the set, screaming into a pair of underwear on his face. I hated that Bane. But yeah, they did a really good job of, and Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul was outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Without even
Ra's
having
al
any
Ghul.
superpowers. Ra's al Ghul.
Am I pronouncing this right?
Oh man, those movies have so many good quotes.
As corny as Bane is, I enjoy the hell out of that performance. I love Tom Hardy just going batshit crazy. Heath Ledger's Joker is probably my favorite performance of all time, regardless of genre.
Regardless of the corny soundbite dialogue.
That kind of bugs me. It's bugging me more as I go on.
Just ignores people talking and says something catchy.
But he's just so good in that role. Yeah. Anne Hathaway, also another great performance. I mean, just from her first scene in the movie where she's looking like a timid little maid or whatever she's supposed to be, cocktail waitress, and then like flip of a switch, she just turns into badass Selena Kyle. It was just a great acting moment.
Yeah.
I liked how she wasn't necessarily a bad guy in the movie. She was more of just like by the end, she's an anti-hero.
Yeah. I mean, she comes around like at the very end.
Yeah.
They did a good job with villains. They really did. Trying to think.
I could do it. I could do without Talia.
I think we could all do without Talia.
Yeah,
pretty bad.
They
Although, if
dropped
you
the
want to
ball.
laugh, you can just watch her death scene because it
is pretty funny.
is not a good death scene.
Yeah, they dropped the ball with her big time.
How do you even let that in the movie?
And it got spoiled so far in advance that she was in it, like that she was Talia.
It was pretty obvious. She was a pretty high profile actress at that point, and she was in a lot of things. And they go, "Oh, here's Miranda Tate." Okay, guy. Okay.
Yeah. It's like John Harrison being in Star Trek Into the Darkness.
Oh
Okay, Benedict Cumberbatch is this random guy called John Harrison. He's Khan. We know he's Khan.
Yeah, that was pretty obvious.
And it's crazy because they got it so right with Batman Begins. Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul, I did not know. I'm pretty sure we're all there. I didn't figure it out until it happened. That was one of my favorite twists in a movie. I did not.
Completely got me by surprise.
Well, I made that poster in graphic design and I put Ken Watanabe on it.
Do you still have that?
I do actually. I have it first 2 minutes of high school. In my closet.
Oh man, that's great.
Fucking horrible. I did a really bad job.
Nolan trolled everyone. I mean, and then he somehow like drops the ball. 8 years later. It's weird.
Yeah, and as much as we want to say the Dark Knight trilogy is completely grounded, Dark Knight Rises is like a comic book movie. It is not really that grounded.
Oh yeah, for the most part, yeah. He outruns a nuclear blast. He just falls out of the plane. Still don't even know how he does it. Did he just jump out of the plane and then just let it go and fly off and explode?
No one explains.
I'll tell you what Dark Knight Rises nailed thoroughly. Was the greatest character in the movie, CIA, and him dying broke my damn heart.
Rest in peace, Littlefinger.
Rest in peace, CIA. Bad fucking performance.
Bad performance, bad dialogue.
I didn't even notice that. I'd watched 3 episodes of Game of Thrones at the beginning of this pandemic, and I didn't even notice it was the same guy.
Yep.
Thanks for pointing that out.
No problem.
I'm CIA. Thanks, dude.
Cool.
Nice.
Fire
name.
Fire rises.
And I guess lastly, we've got the Snyder version, and Ben Affleck.
That costume, though.
Yeah, I love, and it's frustrating for me because I actually like JP, like I genuinely really liked Ben Affleck as Batman. His Bruce Wayne was good, and the suit, definitely one of my favorites, maybe not my favorite. Yeah, and we didn't see enough of it because of just everything that kind of happened with the movies and with that whole universe just like literally just falling apart. So it sucks because I would have loved to have seen his Batman movie that he was gonna make.
Yeah, if you take out all of Batman's stuff from Batman vs Superman and just look at it, it's a pretty bold idea what they did. They give you this Batman who's in his 40s. He's gone through the list of villains. They make references to Penguin, using little wind-up explodable penguins. Obviously, you got the crappy Joker, played by Jared Leto. You have a Robin that's dead. You have all sorts of crazy stuff that he has going on.
A lot of Easter eggs.
And they don't even touch on it.
Yeah.
It's just sort of this Batman that's had a real shit run for the last couple years, and it's driven him nuts, and you got this alien running around blowing up buildings and stuff. We're fighting Michael Shannon, and it's a cool take. It deserved its own movie, and it kind of is a huge disservice that it was just shoehorned into essentially a Superman movie that became a Batman movie that tried to be a Superman movie.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that Zack Snyder had very little interest in Batman as a character. He was just really there to, serve the purpose for whatever the fuck he was trying to tell, or what he is trying to tell, because I guess we'll know in like a year or whatever. But that was frustrating.
And then they shit on him in Justice League.
Yep.
Really badly. He's essentially useless, and I get it, but Batman has a usefulness in the Justice League.
He's the leader.
Yep.
Well, no, Superman's typically the leader.
Yeah, well, I mean, but Batman's got a dossier on how to kill all of them, so that I think essentially makes him the leader.
I always thought that Justice League was always bizarre that they did the Justice League without Superman, but
that was a very strange decision.
Yeah,
like we know you're gonna bring Superman back, like you're not gonna kill him off before, like for good, before a Justice League movie. So that was such a dumb way to end Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, it was just kind of goofy.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess going back to what Snyder did well about Batman, I think the fight choreography that Batman had is like the best Batman fight choreography I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think that's an area where Nolan was like pretty terrible at.
Yeah.
Especially in like the later movies, like the fight choreography is just goofy. Yeah, he fights with his elbows. Rises, it always pisses me off when I go back and watch it, and you've got guys surrounding him with machine guns, and they just like stand and wait to get punched in the face. It's like that's just really poor planned fight choreography. Whereas like it makes so much more sense the way that Snyder lays it out, where I think he disables the guns.
Yeah, you had those little tiny explosives on him that like blew the gun.
That's all you have to do. And it's a couple extra seconds, and like it explains why they're not shooting at you.
You legitimately see him pressing the explosives for each one of them too. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved watching him fight.
Yeah.
And the Snyder Batman fighting is awesome. I don't think anyone's done it as well as Snyder's done, so I have to give him kudos to that.
Yeah, that's definitely good point, Doug. His kind of like Arkham video game style of fighting works incredibly well on film.
It makes you wonder if there was, well, I guess again we will see if there was more of just Batman fighting that was filmed for Justice League, like more of Batman, I guess.
Well, they have a little bit in the Snyder trailer.
Oh yeah, where he's with his gauntlets.
Interesting. I liked how he used his gadgets and stuff in Justice League, where he hops in that tunneler thing that was climbing on the wall and just starts blowing away aliens. The beginning of Justice League is awesome, where he's doing the recon up on the roof.
Yeah, that was
he
good.
Grabs Bill Tench, and hangs him off the off the building to get the bugs to come.
Yeah,
that right there made me really want Jack Snyder. Jack Snyder. Batman. Maybe Jack Snyder has some substance.
I want to see Jack Snyder's cut.
Let's get him in there. It made me want to see one just because I wanted to see a beautiful stylized Gotham with a Batman that fought really well and did some detective work. That's what we're getting, but with substance.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going to say the two things that I didn't like of the Snyder movies that I want to see moving forward are two things that have already been confirmed. I want Batman not to be a psycho murderer. Apparently he's just going to be a psycho assaulter. And then...
in a coma.
Yeah, that was bad, but awesome. And then I don't want to see him mixing up fraternizing with anyone in the Justice League. I want it to be back to just Batman dealing with his rogues gallery and just his world. And they confirmed that at FanDome. Matt Reeves said that this is just Batman movies are the Batman movies. It's not part of the, or I don't even know, maybe it was Jim when you said it. It's not part of everything else. Justice League is Justice League. Robert Pattinson's The Batman is its own thing. So I'm really, really happy about that.
Justice League has been tainted.
I don't think Batman works as well with the fantastical stuff of Justice League. It's similar to how like Black Widow and Hawkeye just don't seem realistic with the rest of the Avengers. I love Batman, love him, but it's kind of goofy when it's everyone else has these crazy powers and he's just as rich.
The problem is though, it can work because it's worked in the cartoons, even when he's not flipping around and everything. It's just really neat to have a guy there, and then there's a great scene, and I forget which animated series it is. The Green Lantern's talking to him, and he's talking about going on and on, and he just stops. He's, wait, are you really just a guy dressed up like a bat? And Batman just smiles at him and walks away, and he ends up bailing him out later or something like that. It's just really funny that Batman's really the tactician of all of the Justice League, because you just got a bunch of goons with superpowers running around. They don't really know what they're doing, but Batman knows what they should be doing. And I like that, and I hope if they continue with this Justice League thing, we get another Batman. I mean, if they retcon it with the Flash stuff, I really hope Batman's in it, because he has a place in the Justice League, and it's a pretty huge role that he plays.
Bring back
He's
Army
the
Hammer
of all of it.
Bring back Army Hammer.
Oh, I mean, now I would love an Army Hammer Batman because the dude's got a voice that sounds like Batman, and she just looks like Batman.
Well, before we get to Army Hammer, let's get to Robert Pattinson. He's got 3 movies, and everything we've seen so far indicate that it's going to be a fun watch.
You're right.
Yep.
So, it'll be out October 1st, 2021. We're going to talk about it a hell of a lot before then. But for now, let's wrap things up with our yearly film series. We're at 1986. We're at my birth year. I don't think it was a very great year for film, but let's hear what everyone has. And to note, I didn't see any of your movies. That's probably why.
Wow. All right, I guess
So,
I'll...
Corey, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll go first. My second favorite John Carpenter film, Big Trouble in Little China. This movie is quintessentially and completely 80s. It's insane. It feels like a comic book movie come to life in a lot of ways. It's fantastical. It has Kurt Russell, Kim Cattrall from Sex and the City, I think, is in it. I think the same actor who was in Gremlins, who,
James Hong.
Yeah. So, it's just a fun action movie like a pulp action movie that John Carpenter decided to, I don't think he wrote it, but he directed the film. And it follows Kurt Russell's character. He's a trucker, going through, I think, Los Angeles, and he comes into contact with a fantastical gang of, almost like it's like an Asian gang of sorts, with powers, and it kind of goes off the deep end really, really quickly. I mean, I watched this movie recently, and it still holds up really well. It doesn't have the musical chops that a lot of other John Carpenter films have, but just the sheer craziness of it and the action and the story, it's a great ride. And Murph, I definitely think that you should give this a watch. I think you would enjoy it.
This, of the 3 films that you guys put, this was one that's already on my watch list.
Okay.
On Letterboxd.
You would.
I don't know how I haven't seen it yet.
You will absolutely love it. It's just a fun pulp action movie. I don't even know how else to explain it. It's something that I feel like everyone should at least watch once. And I feel like most people would like it because it is so strange and so out there. But yeah, that's the movie that I'm choosing for 86. So.
All right, Doug. There can only be one, so let's go to you.
Yeah, so I picked the original Old Guard. It is, of course, Highlander, which also follows a group of immortal beings, except for I think the big difference between Old Guard and Highlander is that there's some mysticism involved, where there's going to be a quickening, and they need to all at some point in time meet in an area and kind of just chop each other's heads off until there's only one left. Until they can win this prize, they call it, which is basically the ability to grow old and procreate. It's a really bizarre story, but I think what Highlander does really well that Old Guard could probably have learned from is that they spend a lot of time on the past of the main character. So the main character is this character named Connor MacLeod, and he's Scottish, and it's takes place in the Scottish Highlands, his past, and it kind of follows him from being part of a Scottish clan and how he discovers that he's immortal. Interestingly enough, was it Christopher Lambert that plays
Yeah.
Connor McLeod.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right.
I think he's French. Yeah, and I think he's French, right?
The actor, Christopher Lambert, or McLeod?
Yeah, Christopher Lambert. No, McLeod's definitely Scottish.
I don't know.
He's got an accent, and it's
He's from-
not Scottish.
He is from the great French state of Great Neck, New York. He's from New York.
Yeah.
Why does he have an accent?
Maybe
He just sounds.
maybe he's trying to emulate a Scottish accent, but doing a terrible job at it, and that's why you think he's
Okay, he has this French accent throughout. I don't know if he's trying to be Scottish.
Maybe,
Or not, but he
maybe
has a
Scottish
French
people
accent.
sound French and
I mean,
Great Neck.
Christopher Lambert isn't the most esteemed actor.
He was pretty bad at Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
Oh.
By the way, happy 25th anniversary Mortal Kombat this past week.
still a wonderful film.
Happy 25th. Well, he does a terrible job with a Scottish accent. And he meets. What's really cool is like while you're delving into the past of this character, is he meets another immortal who trains him in the ways of the immortals, and it's none other than Sean Connery, who doesn't play another Scottishman, but he's an Egyptian.
That's the best part about this movie.
He's relocated to Spain and goes by Ramirez.
Ramirez.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
That's who Ramirez.
He doesn't even try to put on an accent either. Which is the funny part about it all.
Yeah, so it's all super goofy. It's very 90s. You also have Clancy.
Clancy
Yeah, you know what I'm
Brown.
talking about
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown. You have Clancy Brown playing the villain, who does kind of a fun job.
I like
He's a
Clancy
super
Brown.
handy performance. Just being this like douchebag that just like no one likes. He's playing the game. I mean, he wants to win and be the last one standing, but it seems like the others here kind of like teamed up against him just to make sure he's not the last one. It's I don't know. It's a very 80s movie. The soundtrack is like solely Queen, I believe,
No.
which is
That's
unenjoyable.
You talking about A Knight's Tale?
No, I think it's almost all Queen and Highlander,
Definitely talking
which
about
I'm fine
A Knight's
with.
Tale. Queen,
Um,
like Freddie Mercury
yeah,
in Highlander?
I think you're thinking of.
I don't remember.
No, it is the score featuring Queen and Michael Kamen.
Michael Kamen. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Well, they were also in A Knight's Tale, so I was only half wrong.
Yeah, songs
Yeah, no,
by
it's-
Queen.
I watched it like 2 days ago. And I was like, oh wow, this is all Queen.
Brian May.
Mixing up with Flash Gordon, but
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
they did a
almost
lot of
like-
80s theme or a lot of 80s soundtracks.
Yeah, they actually did. Now that I think about it.
But they do a really good job fleshing out the main character's story. They all fight with swords. I think it's super cool that Connor McLeod fights with Ramirez's old sword. It's a nice little touch. But for a movie that involved swordplay, it's really terribly done. Whoever like choreographed the swordplay just like fucked it up. It's just like garbage. The first like fight that they get into, he's at like this wrestling match, and he finds this other older immortal, and like they barely even touch swords half the time. And then there's this whole part where he just like backflips like 10 times in a row, like he's a Jedi. It just like makes no sense. It's super weird. It's really poorly done. I think if like you combine Old Guard and Highlander, you have a really great immortal movie. If you like take the the time spent on the past and developing the character and combine it with the fight choreography of Old Guard, I think you probably have a really great movie. But yeah, it's just a really flawed movie that gets even more flawed on its sequel. And what are there, a few other movies? Is there 5 of them or something?
There's a whole
where they just they get into this plot line of their aliens, and they get into this alien backstory, and it just like gets even more garbage.
Shit sounds bonkers.
It's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
There's also a TV show that ran for 6 seasons as well.
Yeah,
and
four more movies.
Wasn't Earl a big fan, or his dad was a big fan?
His dad, yeah.
Shout out Mike Earl. Hope you're listening.
Childhood friend, loved Highlander.
Yeah, it's kind of. It could be. It has like the potential to be a really great movie, but I think it falls short. But it's a movie that I enjoyed when I was younger, and something that stuck with me. And so that's why I made the list for 86.
All right, JP, you have another one with Queen's Under Pressure, co-singer, songwriter.
I wonder where the hell you were going with that.
I transitioned poorly, but I was also correct with my transition.
No Queen in this movie. There's only the King, the Goblin King. Labyrinth from 1986. What a fantastic movie starring Muppets, David Bowie, and Jennifer Connelly. I don't know how you haven't seen this one either, Murph. It's a fantastic movie. It's some of the best songs I've ever heard in a movie. I don't like musicals.
I don't think my dad was a big David Bowie fan.
No?
Probably hid it from me for that reason.
Is that he doesn't like Muppets?
I don't think he likes Muppets either.
Oh my god. All sorts of things. Yeah, this movie is just all sorts of fun bullshit, just packed into a David Bowie soundtrack. Jennifer Connelly's babysitting her child, or not her child, she's like 14. Her brother, and she's annoyed. She wants to go out, but she's got to watch her brother. So she wishes that the Goblin King would come take him away, and sure enough, he does. And it's David Bowie. And David Bowie falls in love with this really young girl, which is kind of creepy. But then there are Muppets, so you forget about that. And all sorts of fun characters along the way, and you meet a whole bunch of great friends. And laugh at Muppets. And it gets really sappy. I always turned it off at the end because it got really sappy. But now as an older person, I watch that part, and it's enjoyable. But what a great movie. Labyrinth. Muppets, all Jim Henson Muppets too, like legit Muppets.
It's a weird movie though, right? I mean,
very weird movie.
Bowie's after this baby. He's kind of like,
well, because he wants to turn the baby into
Connelly's character, who's like 13.
Yeah, he's like super into it, but you forget about it, Doug, because there's yeah, it's fairly creepy. But
it sounds like it's just creepy.
He's not a man. He's a goblin. That's what you're missing here.
The rules don't apply because
the rules don't apply because he's a goblin, and he's got all these like weird fantastical outfits with like giant cod pieces on them.
Well, it's the 80s, as we talked about already. Everything went, no matter how fucking bad it looks.
Oh yeah, and his hair is like another character in and of itself. It's probably 2 feet high, teased, feathered out like you wouldn't believe. It's very, very 80s, but it's a great movie. There's so many good, fun little parts in it. I don't think I mentioned Muppets. There's Muppets in this movie too.
You did neglect to mention the Muppets.
Sorry about that. Jim Henson Muppets.
Thank you for eventually getting to it. All right, and let's close out with, well, they're definitely not Muppets. They are Aliens. James Cameron's Aliens. It is in a year where, like I said at the beginning, there are not too many films that I really liked of that year. Granted, I still have to see these 3 films. Aliens is a 5-star classic, one of the greatest sequels of all time. Something that I'd been watching since I was a kid, like I don't know, probably like 8, 8 years old, 8, 9 years old. Didn't love the first one when I was a kid. I definitely saw this one first. The slow burn of the first one never really connected with me until I got older. But Aliens is just it goes from the haunted house like movie of Alien to a complete war film with aliens, and it is just fun. Those colonels, everyone that you're, what are they? I don't know what exactly. I guess whatever military grunts they all are. They are just
Colonial Marines.
Colonial Marines. Thank you, Corey. Comprised of actors like Michael Biehn, Bill Paxton, Jeanette Goldstein from Terminator 2, John Connor's adoptive mother. Just they bring their characters to life so much. James Cameron just does a great job always, no matter what the film, Avatar excluded, making you care for all these characters that he puts in his films, like no matter like how tangential or side characters they are to the story. Like Bill Paxton, Game Over Man, just dude, so memorable. But Sigourney Weaver really gets her shot at being like the action heroine of her era. I mean, goddamn. Between the 4 films that she's in, this is absolutely her finest performance. I mean, she was nominated for Best Actress at the Academy Awards for playing Ellen Ripley in Aliens.
Badass.
She is a badass. The fight with the alien queen at the end is absolutely just thrilling from the moment you realize the queen's got Newt all the way to Ripley ejecting the alien queen from the ship after they already get you with thinking she defeated him and they got off the planet or whatever. And then once again, he appears, destroys the android played by Lance Henriksen, which similar, we probably should have known, well, we were way too young at the time to know this, but how James Cameron did the whole turn from Schwarzenegger between Terminator 1 and 2, he prototyped that with the androids in, granted he didn't direct Alien, but Ash and Alien being the villain, and then Lance Henriksen, you're expecting eventually him to turn and be a villain. Never happens. He's just a fantastic helper the entire time. Make sure that Newt, Ripley, and Hicks make it out of there. But this is just a film where if you haven't seen it, get on that. Watch the first Alien by Ridley Scott. Then watch this one, and the tone completely different, but the two of them just work together as a piece so well. Finch Dog did Alien 3, which he kind of disowned. So maybe we'll get the Fincher cut of Alien 3 at some point, if we haven't already, and I'm just forgetting. Alien Resurrection kind of sucked, but and then they've great trailer, but they just have not been able to replicate it with like turn this into a franchise. Like it was a duology. Just leave it at 1 and 2 and call it a day, unless you're going to do some sort of legacy sequel with Sigourney Weaver. I think that's the only way, and just eliminate everything after 3 or everything after 2, and
like what they did with Halloween, I guess.
Yeah, have Newt survive, have Hicks be alive, have Michael Biehn back, and try something that way. I mean, Dark Fate showed that there's only so many times you can redo something, and audiences eventually will say, fuck you, I have no interest. So I don't know if it would make money, but
don't touch that. If you're listening, don't touch it.
Yeah, we can just pretend it was a 2-chapter film series, and
quadrilogy.
Yeah, not a quadrilogy. And yeah, that's Aliens for you. Anything that you guys got to add to that?
definitely saw it before Alien.
Because it's like the first one's a horror movie essentially.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
This one was a little more palatable to a child.
exactly. Even though it is definitely a strong R.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot of F-bombs and lots of violence. But the fact that it has Newt in it, I mean, that also similar to Terminator 2. You got Newt and John Connor. James Cameron, I'm on to you.
One trick pony.
Seems like he's lost his way though.
Aliens was just like his prototype for Terminator 2.
Check
So
out Newt
bigger
in,
and
Avatar
crazier.
2 coming in 2022. Newt's gonna be in
There
it.
you go.
John Connor's gonna be in it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, bad guy.
And you don't think I'm not alone. You guys, which is your favorite series?
Probably Aliens, I would say.
definitely Aliens.
But the first one is
Aliens
a very
like a very it's a very like slow
Build
up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Whereas
it's,
Aliens is just like James Cameron action.
yeah. I mean, like what Murph said, Alien was more of their traditional horror movie, and it does that incredibly well. But it is very plotting and slow, whereas Aliens is like James Cameron doing what he does best: crazy action movies. Well, at least what he did best. Not anymore.
He still does it with Avatar.
No.
So I was like, you're not gonna shit talk
It was
Avatar
like, I
on
mean,
me.
he's got 4 more exciting Avatar films for us all to watch over the next decade.
So excited.
Yeah, we will talk back in 2035 and
I might
report
have seen
back
the
on,
first one,
on
though.
if the series is any good.
And Doug's gonna report back on, the 800th time that he's been on whatever the fuck that place is called in Disney. Avatar World.
Pandora?
Pandora, the
Like Avatar World, though.
Smurf
Doug just
Smurfland.
likes flying on Navi. That's
He
just
likes
what he.
blue and flying. And the magic.
Doug,
All the flying and the magic.
Don't knock it till you float on
I mean, I'll get
I don't
there.
remember what it's called.
I have-
Knock until you try it.
I have tickets. I'll get there eventually. Maybe sometime next year. Hopefully,
Hopefully in
and
2021.
then we'll see. We'll see if
We'll see what happens first. Avatar 2 or you going on in Pandora.
and then we can have a podcast where I could talk about if the hype, if it met the hype that Doug has built.
How much your mind was blown by Pandora? No, it'd be amazing.
See,
All right, gents.
Life changing.
This was a long one.
this was like our Godfather Part 2.
This was our epic, and we knew going into it that it was going to be long because, we talked about, we love Batman.
Can't drop a Batman show and expect them to talk about it. So.
Yeah. So that's all we got. But thank you again for listening. Please like, follow, and subscribe to our various pages, and keep giving us that feedback that we love to hear. We appreciate all your thoughts and support as we continue to do this. But just so you guys have an idea about some things moving forward, we're going to be doing some cool stuff on social media, so you can get to know us a little bit more as individuals, along with our specific taste in film. So stay tuned for that coming soon. But as always, this has been Corey, Doug, JP, and Murph at Live Breathe Film. We'll be back next week, and we hope you are too. See you later.